Kwekwe. Kwekwe is Algonquin for hello. Welcome to another video. Thank you for joining me. Lately, been wanting to do a video, and I feel like you know, tend to have multiple topics. The topic that won out today is a uh, a little more talk on the African Union. Of course, somewhere in here, I'm going to want to talk about, once again, the uh, sovereignty of the American Indian and just more on that. What is it? What does it mean? And just thoughts about that. Uh, so that's our usual conversation, and I think it has to be. Um, so the reason I wanted to look more into the African issue is because part of my question is why do they need so much help? Why are they seeking it outside of their continent? Why don't they have the realization that they have to, in order to maintain a sovereignty, they must fight their own battles, and whether that battle is whatever it needs to be, unfortunately. And from what I'm looking at, it's there. I will say this: I feel like I've got a little more of the education. These people are in physical, battle over there. Okay, here in these quote unquote United States, we tend to not go to that. We're so busy being distracted, I think, and we don't. We're too busy slaving for a dollar. Okay, we're too busy now. In Africa, my feeling is they don't got dollars like that to be slaving for. And that's just what I'm sensing. So here in America, what keeps us not fighting, from what I can assess, is the almighty monopoly dollar. We're too busy chasing colonizers' monopoly dollars while he's taking our land and making much more than we'll ever dream of, because he's going to up those. He's going to make sure he gets paid. So whatever of our resources that are being used, they are charging top dollar, or they're putting people in permanent, what do you call it, debt, or based on American Indians' natural resources. For these resources, it seems to me the world is put in debt. And I want to say to the world, we are peaceful American Indians. We did not intend for you to go into debt for us. Okay. That has nothing to do with us. When you go to criticize American Indians in particular, who are now called Black and African American, please note that we have nothing, absolutely nothing to do with your problems. Okay. The thing that Here's the deal here: we don't have any power in our own country. Okay, so whatever's going on, and you upset with stuff that's going on because of the United States, just remember, I think many of you understand this, that we don't have a say. Okay, we are under the quote unquote plenary authority that came out. I don't know where that came from, but wait. Roll it back, Heru. You're going too fast. Oh, that came from the doctrine of discovery. Okay. Our issues are based on a church doctrine. What is our issue? We don't have a say. We don't get to own anything on our own land. We don't get to control anything. We don't even get to say how we would like our resources to be used. We don't have anything. And Indians think, they think we have time to be dominated. They trying to vote for people that have never given you your land, never allowed you to even profit off of your land. They're so busy taxing Indians not taxed. Okay? So we are peaceful American Indians. We don't advocate uprisings and violence. We advocate peace. Because what we have a constitution that has already deemed, if you go by it, that the first mention of American Indians, they are coming up sovereign. They are not represented. We have to keep saying they are not represented in Congress. So if Congress calls itself having plenary authority over American Indians, that means they're a dictatorship over American Indians. If we don't have representatives, and I'm gonna keep saying it, y'all. You already know. You already know. If we don't have representatives speaking for us in Congress, which we don't want, by the way, only civilized Indians want that shit. Okay? They think that they can't see the intention of Congress. After all these years, they still don't know what time it is. Okay? So they think all we got to do is get a representative in there. Hmm. We're not supposed to because the Constitution says we don't have those. So if we all of a sudden think that getting representatives in Congress is the answer, wrong again. You civilized American Indian, you so-called American Indian. No, it's not electing anything into this foreign government. Oh, I'm so sorry to break the news. So sorry. But again, we don't advocate. We advocate peace, peaceful transition of power, peaceful transition of power. Yes, yes, Congress. Don't worry. We not you don't have nothing to worry about. We just asking that you understand the Constitution that you forced upon to us. Okay, upon us. Upon us. Upon, I meant to say upon us. But no, we're not talking about us today, right now, in America. We want to take a peek in what is the conflict going on that Africa feels, the African Union, to be specific. It's never about the little people, because we American Indians know what it means to be little people on a big continent, allegedly. Okay. We know. So, in actuality, it is not the people who are being dominated in Africa that are our issue. Now, they may be misled by the people in charge into thinking that Americans are quote unquote African Americans. Oh God, that just really pisses me off. That it's almost as if they have a right to criticize American Indians because we're African. We're those wayward Africans that became worldly and living it up, whooping it up in a foreign country called America. No, this is our homeland. And the sooner Africans realize that, the better off we'll be. The sooner you realize that we are not African, never was, never were, maybe we can start to understand each other a little better. But I did take an initiative. If I ever get to it, go out. If I ever get to it, go out today, sometime at some point. This is a morning video. We can't get too jiggy with it, okay? We got to log in at a certain time, God. So let me reel it in here a little bit. I will say this to Africa. I have a little more understanding as of this morning. I have a little more understanding. You guys You are battling it out physically. And I wanted to understand a little more because sometimes I talk a little out of turn. I know sometimes I didn't understand. Ha. From what I can tell y'all, I'm going to give you an overview because my little screenshots are kind of a lot. So I'm going to try to sum it up before we even look at them. From what I can tell, and this is kind of what I wanted to see. Okay. So we're hearing about conflicts in Africa, but they're not really saying what the conflicts are, y'all. That's a huge red flag. Now, of course, this is not Africa's fault. We know how the media do, right? I'm sure the people of Africa would love for the world to have a better understanding of what's going on. I'm going to tell you guys what I am seeing. Now, again, because this is shrouded in a lot of, I don't even know what, chaos. That's what it is. Misinformation and chaos. We never really know what the conflict is in Africa. I think what they want us to believe is that they're just so poor, they're just fighting it out for willy-nilly. They're just fighting. We don't know. I'm going to say it, and we're going to try to see if we can agree upon it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm misinterpreting. I want to sum it up this way, y'all, before we even look at these screenshots or these websites or whatever. Uh, it's religious, y'all. It's religious. And that's where I commiserate with Africans. We in America, what I will say, we don't think it's religion anymore. We think we all good with religion. We think we cool. We do every religion. We good. We are not good. We are not good. The reason why American Indians are in the position they are in today is due to religion. And I say it because I want to light a little bit of a match under some of our American Indians to understand that even after you converted, I say this all the time, it's like a mantra, and I'm going to continue to say it. Sorry. Even after you got quote unquote saved by Jesus, you are still being treated as if you are a heathen. Wake up and smell the coffee, American Indians. Wake up and smell the coffee. I'm try to keep it respectful, but you need to wake up and smell the coffee. Religion has not your conversion off. It gave you nothing, but what it did give you was a fantasy of a better life in the afterlife. Because even though you converted on earth, you are still effectively treated as heathen. You don't you They grabbed you into a foreign legal system called the United States, right? And they put you at the bottom of that. And on top of that, you are responsible for paying that government's public debt. That is on your back, American Indian. The United States federal citizenship was created for what they are calling us babies of African slaves, right? So, because of that, the burden, the financial burden of this beast is being put on your back, American Indians. We say it all the time. In the 14th Amendment, which we were not supposed to be 14th Amendment citizens, even if we were indentures, because indentures, if they are Indians, as we always say, they had a standing. Article 1, Section 2, Clause 3 describes an Indian that is not in or under the United States jurisdiction. Okay, that's what Article 1, Section 2, Clause 3 says when you listen to the legal professionals describe what it meant. And then if you don't believe them, just go right to the senators who are talking about what Article 1, Section 2, Clause 3 means. Means that Indian citizenship was only for white people. Newsflash, American Indians who are in love with their citizenship. First of all, you didn't get the white man's citizenship. You got a federal citizenship. The white man was a state citizen. We say it all the time, but we're gonna keep saying it. Every video we have to really drum it the point home. I realize it's tiresome, it's boring. Yes, it is, but we're gonna get this work, as they say. We're gonna get this work. We need it. We need it. We being too blinded too long. You got to understand what's going on. Okay, so again, we had a foreign entity come and uh, pretend that it was doing business with us. First of all, it didn't have to do business with us because of the doctrine of discovery. This is another thing we're going to always say. The doctrine of discovery said, whatever they have is already yours. What need is there for business? What need is there for a contract? I just told you what you can do. You can go take whatever you want. If you're some foreign nobility, go take whatever these Indians have as yours and make them your slaves. And then when you emancipate them niggas, just make them pay your bills. What more could you ask for in the world? I put you on the best continent, obviously. Yeah, this was, I believe, America was the Moors had their eyes on America from the day they woke up in Africa. Okay, they it's been their mission to control America above and beyond all other nations of the earth. What proof of that do we have? We're the only country in the world. We're the only landmass in the world, North America, that are run by people that don't look like the indigenous people look. Every other country at least have the look of their own people in high power positions. Because America does, the United States, I should say, because the United States does not have and does not want American Indians to be in power positions by and large. The black people that you see in the United States trust and believe they are not working on the behalf of American Indians. They have been bought and paid for if they are American Indians. And if they're not, they are Negropeans masquerading as whatever. Okay, they trying to say that they are for American Indians. It's not even possible for you to be for American Indians. If you for American Indians, this is all the black people you see in Congress. If you were for American Indians, you would stand up in the middle of Congress like sassy Miss Fassy, whatever, Miss Crockett. Okay, we don't say first names if we say the last name. We just say the Crockett. Okay, you would get up there with your eyelashes and your Beyonce look, and you would say, American Indians are not run by Congress because they are a separate nation. They are a separate people. That's how you would know that any of these quote unquote black people in Congress are for American Indians, because they would say, no, we don't have nothing to do with them. They are a separate thing. We shouldn't even be making money for them because they're a separate nation. They should make their own money, and we need to be paying them. If business was what business should, if this was a business, American Indians would be seeing some kind of compensation for this thing even being here. Now, American Indians want to, I've had American Indians, or what I thought American Indians, I don't know. I don't know. Telling me that this was a business deal that went bad. Uh, you had me going for a little while, but I had to go back to basics, which is something that they have American Indians all over the place on this topic. So many of us actually think that we agreed to something. And again, I'm going to always say, oh, not with the doctrine of discovery, you didn't. You didn't agree to anything. I'll say it again till it makes sense. American Indians, you thought you agreed to something. They came here to take. So they had to play nice with you because they knew what was yours was theirs. And they made you sign something. If you did, you signed something. This is me doing this? No, it wasn't you. It was you being made a fool, okay? They didn't need your signature. They had the doctrine of discovery, which has been repudiated. The doctrine of discovery that gave them all this power has been repudiated, and they're going to sit up here and act like they still have all that power. Why? Because American Indians have not gotten to Kraken. They have not released the Kraken yet. Okay, the American Indians still think that they're supposed to be run by a foreign corporation. They still believe that. So many of us do. Now, what you're going to find is them is the Moors in your family that was running the South. Yeah, and then when the deal went bad, who suffers? They led you to be basically get your head chopped off once you became part of this quote unquote union. And then they just surrendered. We surrender to the North. Make us federal citizens and we'll pay all your bills. At the end, in American Indians, they just love this system, yo. They think we designed this system. If we did, we must be the most suicidal people on the face of the planet because, baby, this is about genocide. This is about genocide, okay? That's what it is, a slow brewing genocide. How can we get either Indians to be not here anymore or completely under the delusion that they're not American Indians? That's the two objectives, ladies and gentlemen. Which one do you prefer? Which one do you prefer? That's the choice. Them's the two choices. Either not be here through some form of genocide, or be here and be totally, completely programmed as an African American who they don't want you, but they can't get rid of you. They can't send you to Africa because you never was from Africa. You see? Yeah, that's why. Yeah. But we got off the topic again. Well, it's what I see. What made me go off topic this time was that what had happened was we was talking about religion, right? So I'm trying to say that that is what American Indians actually have in common. God knows I never thought I'd say that before. That's what American Indians have in common with Africans. We're both involved in some kind of either subtle, hidden religious domination or outright, let's get on the battlefield, boots to the ground situation. The thing with Africa, though, is I hmm, I feel I want to say that they were born in a Abrahamic paradigm. I want to say that when civilization came to Africa, it was already Judeo-Christian. Now, when America first established civilization in America, it was not Judeo-Christian. You see what I'm saying? Uh, this is why we can't run our own. This is why we have well, it's interesting. Here's the thing with America. Uh, we wouldn't be in the United States. I keep, here I am saying the reason why we don't have American Indians in the United States is because what was I saying? We're the only country that has a government that doesn't look like us. But there's a reason for that. It's because it's not our government. You see, we're not supposed to be in the United States. But I will tell you this, if this was a quote unquote business deal, the United States would be paying us on an ongoing basis here in some way, shape, fashion, or form. You came to allegedly do commerce. That was the first thing on your mind when this government is built on our American Indian resources. That's why they want to be here. They saw all this land and they figured we can control with all this plantation going on, we can control the food of the world. And so after America is colonized, now you have a United Nations talking about they have the what do they call it? The food bank. What do they got? They got everything now. But that would not be possible if you go by the chain of events. The creation of the United Nations didn't happen until the United States was established, baby. Once they got their greedy fingers on our resources, they went what they call global. That's they running that side up, yeah. So they couldn't do that without America involved. And then, now they want to bring everybody to America, right? They want that's a genocide of American Indians. When your little immigration policies that one day you're spread eagle like a whore on the bed, right? And everybody's coming on, or come on in, right? And then the next day, oh no, don't come in no more. Stop it. No, I'm not a whore today. I don't feel like a whore today. No, I'm sending you back home. Yeah, yeah. But you see what happened with that was they racked up a bill, y'all. When those foreigners came here and got a free meal ticket, that's a bill that somebody gonna pay. Who you think gonna pay? American Indians, you paying for this. You're the ones that are responsible for the public debt. That's what it says in their a little amendment. They didn't fuck you over quite good enough, so they had to add this amendment to really get it in, get it in, get it in. It's a gushy gushy, get it in. So no, it wasn't bad enough that they had that commerce clause, which is in abject opposition to Article 1, Section 2, Clause 3, the Indian not tax clause, right? That wasn't enough. It wasn't enough to have the Commerce Clause. The whole Constitution is built on the doctrine of discovery. There was a time when I said foolishly that, oh, it's only Article 1, Section 8, Clause 3 that was from the doctrine of discovery. All the rest of the Constitution is good. No, it's not. It's not. It's not. Indians shouldn't even be mentioned. This government is so foreign to American Indians. We are peaceful American Indians, by the way. We don't advocate anything but peace, peaceful transition of power. This government is so foreign that it shouldn't have had to mention Indians, but I know now why. We all know why they did, because we were everywhere. If they couldn't displace us, we were still there. So in a way, they kind of had to mention us because we were everywhere. But the idea was those people are not taxed because they're not represented in our government. Again, the second alert, newsflash. And I dare an American Indian to challenge me on this one. What was citizenship in the United States? Who was that for? And that's when American Indians are going to have several seats. The ones who keep batting for a foreign corporation. This corporation was designed for white citizens, not colored, what they call colored, which is another word for American Indian when they don't want to really say what we are, so they just call us colored. But in their dictionary, they said they found copper colored aboriginals, they call it copper colored. Then they just started calling us colored. But originally, according to their Webster Dictionary, which Dane Calloway has so generously informed us, that that was based on what language? Iroquois? No, that would be incorrect. Iroquois didn't have a language. They didn't have a writing system, I should say. I guess they had a dialect that they called a language, but it was based on Algonquian. The dictionary is based on Algonquin. So what does that tell you about who was running all around the Americas? We were originally Algonquin speaking. We were originally Algonquin speaking. When you hear somebody talking about they Muskogee or they're Iroquois, uh, mm, well, you just made yourself a product of colonization. All these civilized tribe Indians are products of colonization. The original Indians spoke Algonquin. Newsflash. Okay, newsflash. You were originally Algonquin. You were wild. Algonquins, by and large, are seen as wild Indians in North America because they were never fully civilized. They had to be taken over. What happened with the unique thing about Algonquin? This is what I'm going to go out on a limb here. If you go with what happened, the foreigners had to marry into Algonquins before they could pull any kind of, rank. So once they got Pocahontas, they separated the white-looking Algonquins, and all the other Algonquins became black and African. And then to further take over Algonquin land, we had, I want to say, break-offs. Why did the break-offs happen? Because these were Algonquins who were highly influenced by Moorish intermarrying with uh, Moors. Yeah. But if an American Indian was to be stripped down to his most original state of being, we don't do states, but we sometimes have to use that word. If an American Indian was stripped down to what the his original thing, he would be Algonquin speaking. But Algonquin is almost like the last thing you'll hear in these United States. Uh, here's where I have to do a self promotion. Please watch my video about is Turtle Island America or the world? And there's another turtle video. Please look up my turtle videos because I'm starting to realize this Turtle Island, it tells a story, but it's not an Indian story. It's the story of what Moors came up with because they wanted your land. How do we say? It's taking you off your land and it's putting you in the sea on a turtle's back. So if you look at that imagery, you will realize we shouldn't be calling America Turtle Island. But that's an Iroquois. That's another example of how an Iroquois system permeates the entire Algonquin story. It completely overshadows the Algonquin creation story. This story of a turtle is a creation story, but it is not the original story of American Indians. Now, do the math. If we originally spoke Algonquin, we had a creation story based on Algonquin. And that story was about a muskrat. A muskrat is indigenous to North America. A turtle is not indigenous to North America. Those Indians that just love saying Turtle Island, please rethink that. It's a foreign uh, influence that crept into our system, and all of a sudden, the original people's creation story, they putting us on the back of a turtle. We don't need a turtle's back because we have plenty land, baby. We have plenty. We don't need. We're not one of these people that need to live on a turtle. I'm telling you right now, you don't want to be on a turtle because that's not what he was built for. I don't care if some you heard this story years ago. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. We don't need to live on a turtle. We have the wonderful land. Land. It's not a turtle. When you go under this piece, you're not going to find a living turtle. Why do you keep calling it Turtle Island? You're allowing yourself to be deluded. That's what I have to say it, y'all. I have to say it. That is not the original creation story of the Americas, especially if you take into consideration that our original language was Algonquin. The turtle is an Iroquois story. That was born of the Iroquois. The Iroquois, again, Algonquins who are highly influenced, the 30 dissatisfied that the Book of Yakub talk about, that's who the Iroquois really actually are. They were a small group that got influenced to the point they became dissatisfied. You get somebody, a pimp daddy, whisper in your ear, they don't treat you right. You need to break off on your own. Go your own way with me. So he's telling you to go your own way, but he comes along and he's a foreigner, and you don't figure out what's going on. He got you turning on your people, your Algonquin speaking people. That's what we all were. The English language is based on Algonquin, not Iroquois, not Muskogean, not Siouan, not Timucuan, not any other linguistic. Which I'm saying, I think it's just a dialect. I think they're calling linguistic, mistaking it with dialect. It's just a dialect of Algonquin. That's what I'm saying. I could be wrong, but I'm just saying. And then again, we're gonna always throw in now because the more we know, the more we grow. So we found out that Virginia was the whole entire area of the United States, right there. That's another nod to Algonquin. Chief Powhatan was the head dog that they had to deal with, that they had to marry into his family. Once they got Pocahontas again, they started. She started giving birth to European babies from some Moor, from Caucasian Moor, because Moors come in all colors. Don't believe the lie that these black Moors tell you. Yeah, that's the only way they can grab. They have to come in all colors. So yeah, once Pocahontas married this Caucasian dude, and maybe we got to question that. Was he actually Caucasian? Could have been a black Moor, right? But we'll go along with the narrative. Because there is a colorism thing going on. He could have been a high yellow nigga. That he could have been. But once they started giving birth to these foreign babies through Pocahontas. That's when they created the caste system because Pocahontas started pushing out lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter and whiter looking folks till now they say now we the new people. We came from Pocahontas too. Yeah, but your daddy's foreign though, and that's why I caution. You know, I don't know. It's a toss up. This matrilineal conversation. It's interesting because what I learned again, we a little bit. I'm sorry. We always have our little opening monologue. I guess I don't know what to call it. But the thing with the matrilineal, if we were truly matrilineal, we would keep our mother's name and not our father's name. That's what I learned. So the plot thickens. We saying that Indians are matrilineal. Indians are matrilineal. I wish you were now. If we were going by that, because then we wouldn't go by our father's last name. You see? So we're not matrilineal. Yeah, once again, we got all messed up. We got all twisted up. They just tell us anything and make up shit. You gotta go. It's almost like you gotta find everything yourself, and that's not a bad thing. It's just that the way this country is designed, you really don't have that time until retirement. And then you're too damn old, or I don't know. It's just if it were matrilineal, it would be so much easier just in terms of mother's name alone. That would be so. My If it were matrilineal, uh, it, you know, I wouldn't have to deal with my father's last name. It would be much easier to look it up, in the genealogical records because you would just keep your mother's name. There would be no marrying and changing your name. This is all colonizer shit, you know? But that is the one aspect of matrilineal descent that uh, I would that would be great. The thing that I don't agree with too much is that the inheritance goes to females, because that just doesn't make sense. Because if you're an American Indian couple and you don't have any daughters, who's it going to go to? Who's the inheritance going to go to? It's going to go to your boy. So the matrilineal inheritance or descent heirship, it should not be sexualized. It goes to whatever child you had. That is, if you didn't have daughters, it would have to go to the son. So, but then the son would have to continue with the mother's name. Now that would be okay. So if you saying we matrilineal, let's do it all the way. You know, we're gonna have to do it all the way. The other thing, yeah. So the matrilineal has been influenced by a patriarchy. So I think matrilineal systems and patriarchies are not compatible. And America's under the United States is a patriarchal thing, y'all. It's a very patriarchal thing at its inception, and we know that things don't. You got to go to the origin. They said when the settlers that when they did send them, it would be mostly males. Not they wasn't sending no females over here, y'all. That would totally defeat the whole point. Okay. But again, once we establish an American Indian identity that supersedes any other identity here in the Americas, we won't have to worry about foreigners taking over, because it's going to be understood. When you come here, you're going to go by our dictates. You're not going to come here and talk about no fucking Mali, okay? That's what really annoys me with these delusional Indians. How can you say you're an Indian when you saying something about Mali? Do you see what you're doing to yourself? This is not Heru doing it to you. I know you're mad at me right now, but this ain't Heru doing it. This is Heru trying to tell you how you be an American Indian, okay? You don't go around talking about, yeah, I had some Mali and how we go back to my but back to Mali. That's the key word. Back to Mali is the if that's not the cup of coffee you need, get some smelling salts or something. We gotta revive these American Indians to put their head on right. You don't go windmilling for Mali if you're an American Indian. You're gonna have to talk about all things American, yo. That's how colonization begins. You start praising some other country, and they start taking your shit. Okay, basically. Okay, but we were supposed to be talking a little bit about Africa. Now I think I got to start sharing my screen because I don't talk too much. But what I was going to say is the thing that we kind of have in common with Africa, so somewhat. What makes us different from Africa again is that we didn't start out Abrahamic. I think when civilization hit Africa, they hit the ground as some form of Judeo Christianity, because that was the dynasty system that sprung up in Africa. It was Akhenaten's monotheism. Now by that time, according to Horace Butler's story, if we put it together and make it make sense, what he's saying is monotheism got cast out of uh, America, and it ended up in Africa via one of the Moseses. Now we know that in real life, the situation was there were Tutmoses and Amoses. So that's the key that Horace Butler gives us. It talks about he mentions writings of one of these Moseses, and it was a war, which is a perfect segue into what our Africa conversation, if ever we ever get to it. So it led to what they're calling it a civil war, y'all. And I'm noticing that's exactly what I believe they're calling it in Africa, civil, when it's religious. They're camouflaging the conflict that these religions actually bring to a land. and then they become major battles. We talking boots to the ground, not what we have in America, where we're already so, under the spell of religion that we don't see how divisive it is in actuality, and that even though it's Abrahamic, there's a built-in conflict. I hate to say it, y'all. This is not uh, blaming any Jewish people, not at all. We again, we talking about the Moors who infiltrated our land, and they're telling us about their religious systems. And as Americans, it's like we're being invited into a house that is already divided on certain religious beliefs, although they are both said to be Semitic. And now, again, this has nothing to do with Jewish people. These are blackamoors because they come here and tell us a different story, right? They have a little twist on the way they tell it to us. It comes with an ego rub. Meanwhile, people in Africa are fighting for dear life to get out of Islam. And here in America, we like run into it like chickens without heads. They need us to co-sign on what they're doing, and then we become just as guilty as they are. I'm talking about black Moors, as I always do. And then the black Moor is going to say, why you keep talking about me? As I said before, if you never came to me with this bogus bullshit idea that I am you, I wouldn't have to talk about you. But I have to talk about you to remind you that I am not you. You don't just get to tell me who I am. I'm sorry. I know you're the great and powerful Oz, but that's only as far as me. It ends when it hits me. I'm not claiming to be a Moor, never will. And the religions that you push, if I'm not you, what sense it make for me to adhere to one of your religions that were forced upon American Indians, although they have forgotten that. American Indians have literally forgotten how Christianity got here. They it's really going to be it's going to be their end. The ones who stay in it and think that that's it, that's the one. Yeah, that's the one that came here and stole everything that was once yours, and you don't even know how impoverished you've been made. So the difference and the similarity. The difference is America didn't start out Judeo-Christian. That's how far back our history goes. Africa, when civilization hits you, it's Judeo-Christian. It's one of the Judeo-Christians, and that's uh we were civilized. The Americas were civilized way before Judeo-Christianity appeared. Africa became quote unquote civilized when Judeo-Christianity appeared. Fortunately, this is the also the source of their discontents because that is what their wars are about. That was what my big lesson was as early as this morning or as late as this morning. And I have to say, it was a it was experience, and it's good. We American Indians, we have to learn from others as much as we can. Others who are dealing on a different facet of the Judeo Islamic Christian religions. So I wanted to get an idea of what of the major issues with the African Union, because they, what is causing them to reach out to the world, which I think is a huge mistake. It's a huge mistake. So let's look and see. We'll go down. I think we're going to go down this. This helped me to see the issue. So this is actually a United Nations document, but it was the UN, United Nations, African Union, and European Union leaders pledged joint push for peace and development in Africa. Now, again, the United Nations didn't become a thing till America was conquered with the doctrine of discovery, right? So now the UN is like a big dog in the world, right? Couldn't do it without America, y'all. It didn't. So I'm going to say it couldn't because it didn't. The United Nations was formed and it was created. It was spearheaded, I should say, by a United States president. One of them was Woodrow Wilson. The other, I believe, was Roosevelt. One of Woodrow Wilson, it was called the League of Nations at first. We did a video on this, so I might not be recalling correctly everything, but this was not possible until the United States was involved. I think the United States offered a couple of things. The Europeans could be out of Europe when shit went down. They could sort of be here on American Indians' land talking about this is their country now. And now Americans are Europeans born in America because they don't want to be European no more. And I don't think this is something Europeans would choose. I think there are Europeans that have national pride, and I think they would say, that's some bullshit. I don't want to be American. I'm European. And you know what? I support that. I support that. I support it. Uh, that's like, an Indian going to Europe and saying, I'm not American no more. I'm European. But that's what the Moors did. See, the Moors don't want to be African, y'all. We went over this. They will take North Africa because they have to. But they do not claim all of Africa, as we said in a previous video. They want America, boo-boo. That's why they say once Europeans come here, they become American. That's a Negropean saying that, though. That's the part that we don't often think about, right? Once the Negropean comes here, he takes our identity. That's a Moor. He starts saying, we're the same because we look the same. See? Now, no other people on earth would do that. A Chinese would never say that they are Japanese because they look like Japanese. They would never, ever, ever, ever do that. And some people say, well, they don't actually look the same. Well, same difference. They don't think that because they're Asian that they're all the same. Whereas a Moor acting like he ain't got no goddamn sense, he gonna say, because we look like we the same nation too, see? Because he was here before everybody else was here. You see? I don't give a shit. I'm not you. Remember, Moore, you are monotheistic. I was a heathen. Remember that part? The part where you had me called and pegged as a heathen? Did you forget that? I'm still that, Moore, and you know it. Nobody knows that better than you because American Indians are still being treated like heathen. So you talk out of two sides of your sloppy, ugly mouth because what you're saying ain't really happening, right? Americans don't have any power, and you're not helping them to get any power. Moors, you're pulling them off their land. The minute you do that, they don't have no power. The minute you start calling an American an African, you just disempowered him. Moor, you're empowering yourself, though. If American Indians ever wake up and see what the hell is going on here, the Moors is getting your power by calling you a Moor. He, no, I'm sorry. Let me say it right. American Indian, you never needed a Moor, but he's showing up as desperately craving your identity. He has to convince you that everything he did, you did too. because he's taking you down to hell with him. Okay? So we done went off again, but we gonna try it. Hey, stay focused, Heru. Stay focused. Come on. You don't got all day. We don't got all day. We got to log in. So the United Nations, the uh, African Union, the European Union. It's funny because if America did this, we'd be an AU too, and wouldn't that just work out fine for the boys? We can't tell the African Union from the American Union because they both AU, so we the same. See, that's how a Moore thinks, y'all. Come on now, you'll know that's how he thinks, right? I'm just oversimplifying it, but that's exactly what it is, yo. Yeah, again, an Asian would never say that because we look like other Asians of the world that we're all the same people. They would say South Asians ain't Chinese Asians. Oh no, it's a different culture. No, different things. But the Moor plays stupid with us. The Moor is trying to get American Indians to not think in terms of individuality. But he set the whole world up to be individuals, right? Again, do Asians run around saying because every Asian in the world is the same? No, they don't. They have different cultures because they're on different continents and whatnot, or they different parts of the world. A Moor will convince an American Indian, and many of us believe it, that no matter where he's from, you are the same. Negro, you are delusional. That's what you are. It is you that ran around the world setting up all these different cultures to come up against Americans. You needed to diversify to come for us, but once you got us, now you want us to think we all the same. Everybody's all one happy family because they all black. We're not black. You are more. You're black. You tend to be blacker than us. If we're gonna go in degrees of black, and you like the word black, let's just go with it. You tend to be blacker. Why? Because you're from Africa. Okay, so you're black. Stop calling me black. It never benefited me. You bring something and it has the effect of making me the lowest thing in America. That's what you brought to the world, Morris, the term black. You're the one that revels in that and insists upon it until you get to America, and now you just want us to be Moors. So you fine tuning it. Black don't really come with a religion, but Moors do. So then now it's another hijack, another grab. We're none of those things. We're American. You are African. Say it and free your mind, free your spirit. Become whole again. Because you're split all over the damn place. That's why you're going to fail. You are failing. You just do a good job at hiding that you're failing. These Africans don't want you. And I have to say, that would be a point of solidarity. Yeah, be a point of solidarity. This American would agree with the Africans that say that no thanks, Moors, no thank you. But again, I get ahead of myself because they still got to deal with Christianity, and that's what's going on if Heru ever get to it today. So the African Union, the United Nations, the European Union. I guess the United Nations, we could say it's another way of saying the United States. Don't got nothing to do with America. Uh, what it means, peaceful ending. They pledged for a joint push for peace. Why? What is all the strife in Africa, Heru? You keep talking all around it. Let's get to the point. Get to the point. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Gosh, I'm sorry. What? But push for peace. You got everybody trying to get peace in Africa. What's going on in Africa? Okay, so that's a little picture of the traditional Zai agricultural technique being tried out in Niger's Maradi region. So they still trying to get the agriculture together. Now, when we do civilizations, right? The first thing you find out is that everybody started out farming. Everybody in the world started out farming. And they gave Samaria. They said they started farming 400,000 million years BC. That's a damn lie. But the point is, every great culture starts out with farming, and they ace farming, and then they move on to writing. Samaria, right? But y'all started writing so late in the game that I call you imbeciles. Because yes, you aced farming, but why did it take you so long to get to writing? My God. Uh Ancient Tameri, they started writing, and within 2 years, or two, was it 200 years? I'm sorry, 200, I'm sorry. Within 200 years, they had writing. I think when we did the math in Samaria, which I'm going to say right now, sorry, I'm going to have to say it. I don't believe Samaria existed for real, for real, for real. I think it's a Moorish creation that they tried to make like there was a civilization before Tameri, and there wasn't. There wasn't. So what they did was they said, what proves a civilization is their ability to write. So they took a complete idiot called Samaria and made them have writing first. But again, the space between them acing agriculture to writing would make them complete idiots or imbeciles. They slow. So it took them, if I do the math right, it was over 700 years between agriculture and writing in Samaria. They were slow as fuck if they were real. Tamarians be 200 years between acing agriculture and writing, but they're going to say we started writing later. So they're saying Sumeria is older and they started writing first, but I'm saying they're older and they're autistic or something. I'm sorry, that's not a diss to autism. I'm just saying they slow. They were slow. Some autistic people are actually fast. Now we know that because the Rain Man was a fast, So this is not a this. I'm sorry. Apologies, apologies. This is never to put down autism. I have members of my family who have autism. So this is not me putting down autism. Because in the past I think I've said something like that, and I have to say now, we want to try to be more politically correct. This is not a put down on autism. I'm talking about how history tries to one up the oldest civilization by saying some other civilization that is younger, actually younger, that by saying that they started writing first. But then when you look at the writing, see, here's my thought on writing. I know we're going a little bit all over the place, but this agricultural thing got me talking like this. I'm sorry. I'm going to try to move it along, move it along. Another thing about writing is that it tended to start it out as pictorials first, like hieroglyphs. They would draw a picture of something first. In Sumeria, that didn't happen. They jumped to chicken scratch and they call it writing. From what I know of, what do you call it? What do they call that? Cuneiform. Their writing was called cuneiform. Cuneiform, it just appears out of the blue and there's no pictorials. Now, when I say pictorials, I'm talking about elaborate pictorials, not just drawing a woolly mammoth in a cave. No, I'm not talking about, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about your pictorials look like hieroglyphs. Baby, those shits was polished. They were set. You could just use those and you'd be good if you had hieroglyphs. I'm not seeing that cuneiform had an extensive form of pictorial writing before they jumped to chicken scratch. So the it's like the laws of writing are changed to make Sumeria be the first ones to start writing. But what was they writing though? That chicken scratch, how do you know what it means? There was no pictorials. You're showing them going straight to cuneiform. So now they're going to have to program AI to give Sumeria pictorials. But just remember, that's not what they said first. They just showed us chicken scratches, and that was first writing. Baby, if I scribble like as a child something on a piece of paper, that don't mean it's writing. If I draw some chicken scratch as a child on a piece of paper, you can't say that that was writing, yo. That's scribbling. It's not writing, yo. It's me using my hand, a pencil or a crayon in my hand. That's all it is. It's not writing though. It's not. Okay, but I believe that's what they're doing with Samaria. They just found something, or made something. That's how devious it gets. Yeah, oh look, David's the first one to start right. Look at this. Please. Anyway, that's just my theory. This is my opinion. Y'all got a different opinion. Fine. I don't believe that shit is writing. That's just me. Okay, I don't care. And then there's only one dude that can decipher it. Zechariah. Okay. All righty. All righty. Sitchin. Zechariah Sitchin. All righty. All right. You sure do be stitching because I'm in stitches laughing at this. Mr. Stitching. You got me in stitches. That's some bullshit. Okay, that's just how I feel, y'all. That's just me. Maybe somebody could prove me wrong. That's fine. That's fine. So, to show how new a culture Africa is, look at this. They trying some new agriculture techniques. Well, by now, if you're the oldest civilization on Earth, I would think you aced this. I'm sorry, this is not supposed to be a diss Africa. I'm supposed to be trying to find a similar. Look at me. I'm so programmed, right? Okay, let's move on. But this is what they're showing us, y'all. We got to go with this. Africa, if you don't co-sign on this, tell them stop showing this. Stop saying that we just started agriculture. Stop doing that, United Nations. And remember, United Nations don't got nothing to do with American Indians, Africa. Okay? Don't come for us. Okay? But don't say we you because that makes us mad. That makes us very upset lately. Um, this is by Vibu Mishra. Why your mama do that? Why your mama do that? I'm sorry. September 21st, 2025. Peace and security. The United Nations, African Union, and European nation have reaffirmed their commitment to peace and sustainable development in Africa, pledging deeper cooperation to end conflicts, support stability, and tackle global challenges from debt. Debt. How did Africa get in debt, y'all, when they the richest country, allegedly? Allegedly, got gold and diamonds, but they're in debt. Oh, well, we know all about that, right, American Indians? We know what our debt is based on absolutely nothing. Probably the same thing with Africa, especially if they're using fiat dollars somewhere in the mix or something that some central bank created. We know what that debt is about, right? That's to make sure that you stay slaves. But the thing is, when you were supposed to be sovereign like American Indians were, we don't owe the United States crap. Y'all messed up with your finances. Hey, you living off my resources. You should be doing good. How'd you mess up your finances? Are you too greedy? Well, that's why you need to go on home. You ain't doing nothing but putting your people in debt, then putting that debt on my back in the 14th Amendment. Section 4 of the 14th Amendment says the United States citizens cannot question the public debt. Who was the first United States citizens? The descendants of slaves that became United States citizens with the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment was created for babies of slaves. Who are they calling babies of slaves? American Indians. Who's paying all of the corporation's debts? American Indians. White citizens, the citizenship they had was not 14th Amendment. So they were not pledged or under constitutional quote unquote obligation to pay the federal government's debts because they were state citizens. So you Indians, again, that love with your United States citizenship, that means you're in love with being a debt slave, but then you're going to operate in private, which is another level of fraud because American Indians shouldn't be operating in anything under the United States, private, public, or otherwise. Like to always remind Indians, you're still not living in your birthright, acting in private because any foreigner could be private. That means you're still not in control of your resources, American Indians. You're just lavishing in monopoly dollars raining down on you, dancing like Mariah Carey in what, that scene. And what was her movie? Glitter. And all the glitter, the dollars, the monopoly dollars, you dancing, and the monopoly dollars raining down, and you dressing they're all white and uh yeah, debt to climate change. You mean climate manipulation? And did they do something with they trying to block the sun and stuff? I read, and this is actual, y'all. China created a sun. Did y'all see that one? It's a while back, so they done probably create a whole universe now. But they created an artificial sun, yeah. And then they talk about climate change. This is how they, you know, fix climate change. Let's make some more artificial stuff. That'll help. Um, yeah. Well, I wonder where that sun is right now, though, because they did build one, yo. That's what they said. If I'm lying, I'm flying. But that's what if it's a lie, they told it because that's an article I read in a legitimate source. But I wasn't doing a video on that, so I don't have it pulled up. But please look it up. Was there an artificial sun created by China? If it wasn't China, it was some other place. So sorry, China, if it wasn't you. I apologize. Somebody created an artificial sun. That's all I know. I believe it was China, though. I believe it was China. I could be wrong, but look it up. Okay. The United Nations, African Union, European Union have reaffirmed their commitment to peace and sustainable development in Africa, pledging deeper cooperation to end conflicts. So one of the first things is conflicts. Okay. And debt and climate change. Okay. Meeting at UN headquarters in New York, where the UN is based. Didn't I say that started as once they got took over America, they built the headquarters of the United Nations. Now they can dominate the world. That's the Moors' wet dream. You just want to dominate the world like Pinky in the Brain. Yep. So once they got America, y'all, that's when they went like quote unquote global. They couldn't do that really before because they was denying we existed back in the day. But they had their sights set on us though. hmm think again, it's almost like we're the only country in the world that got a foreign government that we're not even supposed to be part of, but they grabbed us anyway. And it's all run by white people because citizenship was for white people. That's another, I don't think American Indians are getting that. They so busy being lied to by Moors. The Moors ain't telling them, well, we did build this originally for white people, but we like you too. We made you black. And, that's when they say too much, when they say that they made you black. But obviously, guys, let's do the math. If they created a government for white people, let's say that again. If the Moors created a government for white citizens only, if the Moors created a government for white people, do the math to find out how you became black and who facilitated that. The Moors have admitted they built this government for white people, not white people. American Indians, let's sit down now. Let's first breathe in the aroma of that rich South American coffee. Come on now, let's do it together. Breathe it in. Let it get in your brain. That's why we sniffing it first. We're not gonna drink it quite just yet. First, we're gonna let it hit the brain. Let that the smell of caffeine hit that brain. If the Moors created a government here in American Indian land for white people, where do you think black people came from? White people? No, because white people didn't create this government. To be exact, King James was a whole Negro, as we always say, and he was a foreigner. So this government, at best, is derived from a Negropean Moor who created a government for quote unquote white people. But we know that because the citizenship was for white people at first. And then they created a new one when Dred Scott wanted to be a white person. They said, well, you can't be white because look at you. Look in the mirror. Do the math, duh. If a Moore created a citizenship for white people, Dred Scott, please look in the mirror. Now, what are you? Are you white? And Dred Scott said, no, but I'm free now. I'm free now. Well, yeah, whatever. You free to have this new citizenship we made called Federal United States Citizen, which I like to just boil down. District of Columbia citizen. You are a citizen of the District of Columbia residing in a state, whatever state you're in. Okay? So again, who created a government for white people? Moors did. And then he made them the white citizenship with the white status. A Moor did that. And yet he says he's your brother. A Moor did that. And you American Indians keep following their legal advice and wonder why you lose. Well, because you ain't even supposed to be in the court. That court is for white people. If citizenship was for white people, what was the Supreme Court for? Do we have any geniuses in the House? What was all the courts for? Maybe I'll say it slow so American Indians will catch it. Uh, this legal system was meant to be for white people, not colored, let alone American Indian. That's way out of the picture. That's why they started calling you colored. Because they had plans for you too, American Indian. Even though they were catering to their white folks. What are white folks? What were they originally? Negroes with high yellow complexion. That's what they originally were. That's what they originally were. That's why I do believe they called it Albion. Why would you call a white person an albino, though? Why would it be called Albion? I guess it's debatable. Are there white albinos? Yes. But the first ones, as everything started out, it was black. The original albinos was black. And for the record, we just want to say it one more time for the mind. Did Negropeans originate in Europe or Africa? Because I think the Moors throw up a smoke screen surrounding that. We always want to, try to get rid of all those smoke screens. Okay, so for that we have to go to the out of Africa theory. That's for the Moors though. It's not for American Indians. We just giving the Moors everything that they created for them. It's not for us. But the Moors said something about an out of Africa theory. So could there have been first Negropeans or were they first African? Because right now you would think the way they talk, you would think that there's some kind of separation between Negropeans and Africans. Well, I'm saying Negropeans are Africans because that's where they come from. So, are Negropeans really European originally? No, they're not. No, they're not. Uh, Everything black except American Indians who are called black. But everything black in the what they call in the Eastern quote unquote hemisphere, that was African, y'all, not American. When you go with the Moors narrative. And again, we have to keep pushing the Moors narrative because if we don't, they're going to change it. They're shapeshifters. They are shapeshifters. So you have to constantly remind yourself what the first story was. And the first story was an out of Africa theory that they made somehow their reality. So when you put a Moor to his own words, he can't stand it. He can't stand the problems, the conflicts that arise. So were there first black people in Europe or were there first black people in Africa according to popular narrative put out by Moors originally? So then what are Negropeans? They're Africans. Again, we're going with the Moors narrative to find out who they really are. Okay. That was their original narrative that they originated in Africa. So there's no such thing as a real Negropean. He's really African when you trace his roots. So what I was saying is it's odd that Moors don't want to be associated with South Africa because they're saying that was the cradle of civilization. Yeah. They're not saying North Africa was the cradle of civilization. See, that's how their stories when they don't match up and they make Moors look really, really bad, like the liars that they are. Because when they insist on being North African, that means you're denying your the cradle of civilization, but they keep what I notice about the cradle of civilization, they try to keep that a mystery too. But one of the very popular ones that life began like at the foot of the Nile and I think they're trying to say Somalia. Yeah, Punt is in Somalia. Yeah. Because their Bible says that Punt was in Somalia, but they're just not sure where. You're not sure. Hmm. Sounds like it's just you making up shit again. But we're gonna go with what you said, though. That's the thing. We're gonna go with what you said. So that means your North African fancy ass originated in South Africa. If we go with one of the popular out of Africa theories, is that life began not in North Africa, but in South Africa. So your North African ass is still from South Africa, right? More if we go with your narrative, right? More. You're gonna make up some other shit. Watch him. Just watch him. You're gonna make up something. Make some new shit. That's what we're gonna do. That's about it. Right, more? Then you just gonna start talking about some other shit, some other shit he did that lied about and everything. But so that means even your North Africa claim is bogus because life didn't begin in North Africa where you began, right? More. So you're actually a South African that got fancy, right? More. You got so fancy that you started calling yourself European, right? More, but the creme de la creme is when you become American, because that's when you said Americans born no, Europeans born in America are not, they not European no more. That means they're not North African no more. That means they're not South African no more. They taking your place, American Indian, and you fall for it every time these slick, lie, fork tongue folks start talking. You just fall at their feet like you did for that Scottish dude. That's just how it happened. You heard some kind of exotic voice or whatever. And then when he said, well, you had a voice like me. You like my voice? I am from Africa. But I love your voice so much. I want to be from Africa too. Well, that's what I'm going to help you do. And then you're going to be a slave in your own country. Thank you. Thank you for falling for me. Thank you. Yeah. So we done did the trace back. We did they lineage. We did their genealogy just in one little video, right? They, them niggas is from South Africa, yo. But they don't claim it no more. They don't claim South Africa no more. They said North African Berbers. We are North African Berbers. The Moors are North African. We don't have nothing to do with South Africa. But why? Why don't you want to be associated with South Africa, boys? That's not where you ain't from North Africa. You just travel up there according to one of your lies. One of the big ones. So we gotta move on. We keep we keep coming for that Moors every day. We be taking too long in the video now. Meeting at the UN headquarters in New York on the margins of the General Assembly high level week on Sunday. Oh, this is a while ago. Oh, it's September. Oh, wait a minute. That was recently, yo. Oh shit. That was last week. Oh, wait. Was it last week? I think so. Or a week and a half ago. So they had a meeting, y'all, in New York on the margins in September of 2025 of the General Assembly high level week on Sunday. They met on a Sunday? Oh. Of the three organizations issued a joint communique after their sixth trilateral meeting. They reiterated their support for multilateralism as the most effective way to address today's challenges, stressing adherence to the UN Charter. The UN Charter. Who granted that UN Charter? The United States presidents, I believe. You know what, y'all? We gonna how we gonna do this, y'all? Let's do the phone. Let's do the phone. I want to just quickly find out who granted the UN Charter. Okay, who granted the UN Charter? And this okay. AI overview is the first thing that pops up. Let's see what it says. The United Nations UN Charter was granted by the delegates of 50 nations at the San Francisco Conference in 1945, following widespread agreement on a draft charter and the signing of the document. The charter was brought into force on October 24th, 1945, after being ratified by the required number of countries, making it the governing document of the UN. So they're basically born in the United States. It's a United States thing, y'all. They again, once they got their greedy little footsies on our land, now they're granting charters because they broke away from England, right? But then they became like, they became quote unquote sovereign. on our land, right? They had to come here to become sovereign. They didn't fight their battles on the home front so that I guess they could keep a monarchy. I don't know, for backup. I don't know. But they could sort of masquerade as free sovereigns here in America, but you didn't do that in your own. Why didn't you do that in your own country, though? Now, if you did that there, we probably wouldn't have all the problems that we have right now because it would have been your problem to deal with. And that's what you want to do, deal with your problem. So after it says here, I'm reading, I'm sorry, I had to turn to my phone because I don't want to start bringing up new. I already got like too many tabs on my laptop right now. So, you know, I had an issue with tabs before. I think you recall during one of my videos, I figured out I had too many tabs open and something was not working right or whatever. So here I'm reading from AI Overview on my phone, a breakdown of the process. Preparation and agreement. After World War II, representatives from various nations met to establish a new international organization to promote peace. In the United States is where they met, right? The charter was drafted after much negotiation and debate. The San Francisco Conference, from April to June 1945, delegates from 50 countries met in San Francisco to finalize the UN Charter. I wonder what those 50 countries were. See if we could maybe get an idea. Well, we not. I don't think we can go down that list, but that's a question for later. What were the 50 countries that had to come to the United States to get the United Nations popping? Well, their flags, I think. I'm seeing a bunch of flag. There's a picture here, United Nations office at Geneva, because they have an office at Geneva, Switzerland. But the headquarters is in New York. The one in Geneva is, it says here, is its second biggest center after the UN headquarters in New York City. I think that's why they like the Moors like to call New York the what do they call it? The Empire State. We don't want none of your empires, yo. Go back home and do your empires. We didn't ask for this. We got this because of the doctrine of discovery, and some delusional Indians think that we wanted this and we was doing business. You can't do business with somebody that already feels that they can take what you have, yo. Like you can't, there's what kind of contract can you make with someone who says that your shit is their shit? What need is there of a contract? So I'm trying to get American Indians to get off of that. You didn't start anything. You didn't agree to anything. You didn't want anything. This was conquest, and you had no say. Face it and free yourself so you can be prepared for what you really got to do in a peaceful, civil, so called manner. But first, you got to understand none of this is yours. See, if you keep holding on saying, this is mine and I did this, that means colonizer gets to stay because you keep saying that you did this. You didn't do anything but get dominated by foreigners who were Negroes from Europe but originated in South Africa. But these is fancy Negroes that every time they make a new move, they say they from that place and forget about where they really came from. They're not about origins. So what in their story, life originated in somewhere in the cradle of civilization was in Africa. Now they get fancy, say, no, the cradle of civilization was in Saudi Arabia. Oh, you Negroes are so damn fancy. Then how is why? What is the whole out of Africa thing? If you now trying to say, no, that wasn't the real cradle. We made a mistake. Oops. You're not making a mistake. You're lying. You're a liar. Face it. Lying in the name of your deity. Don't get your story right because it has to change. You did not start out European. You did not start out North African. You started out South African in your story. We're going to keep you to your story. We're actually helping you to focus. The damn liar. Are we ever going to get to the point here, Heru? They reiterated their support for multilateral, blah, 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 stressing adherence to the UN Charter and voiced concern over rising disregard for international humanitarian law and human rights worldwide. I'm sorry, guys. I guess this is how I do, and I do apologize. I know it's a little painstaking. But when I see this word human, it bothers me because not only because some of our Indians have said that that word actually means monster. Yeah, that's sort of like not my issue right now. My issue is when they start making up new words and calling everyone human, that's a grab. Uh, for political safety, I think uh, you have to be more specific. In other words, a human is a new entity, but what we actually have here on Earth, you could say we have Americans, you could say we have Africans, even though that's not the best term for them because they are Ethiopian, Nigerian, Ghanaian. So the it, for conversation's sake, yes, you might want to maybe use general terms similar to the word human, but politically speaking, when they call you human, that's a whole other jurisdiction. Unfortunately, people. I think human is the jurisdiction when you're in the United Nations. The United Nations for all I don't know. It's a jurisdiction outside of your real jurisdiction, which is whatever country you're in. The United Nations, it's saying that it's uniting countries, but what it's actually doing is overriding each of those countries' own laws. It, because they're going to say, well, when you fuck up, you got to come to the United Nations. Why? Why? Because that's like your big daddy. What the United States created was a bigger daddy than their foreign daddiness. So they said the United Nations is like the foreign granddaddy, and the United States is the foreign daddy. They both foreign. And when they show up, they have the effect of grabbing people or men and women is a better, the next best word is men and women, not human. Human is also bringing children, I think, into the, yeah, obviously, right? when you can't bring them in because they're too young to be grabbed when you're not under colonization, that is. So you talk about human, and you're grabbing the children of men and women, or the offspring of men and women. But the men and women speak for their offspring, not some foreign daddy or granddaddy. So you want to keep it on men and women, not girls and boys, not human. You see, y'all. See, what I'm trying to show you is that, as crazy as it sounds, in the world of law, you can't interchange different all kinds of words. This is if American Indians don't learn anything, the one thing we did learn is that black is not the same as American. Once they called us black, we were in a new jurisdiction that was far beneath what we should have been, which is the highest in America. We had the highest standing on the land. We should have been the jurisdiction of all. We should have been the head jurisdiction, our jurisdiction. I'm going to take a really quick break for a minute. Let me see. Stop share and pause, and I shall return. We're back, and we want to continue. So we're trying to get an idea of what's at the core of the this big conflict in Africa. Okay, and I'm just going to say it, and I hope that I can show it as well. I guess I've strung you along, and I do apologize. I didn't really mean to, but it's a religious conflict, y'all, and I think we did say this. And this is where I'm going to, try to get American Indians to see what warism does to countries uh, and to Africa. To Africa's credit, she's fighting. What I want to say to Africa is that unfortunately we can't help you. We can't help you because we're not in a position of power. Joining you is not going to, that's not going to really do it either because you think we're African, so you're going to assist in genociding us off of our land. So that's where you will have to be checked. You're going to have to see that if we are to be of any assistance to anybody, we cannot be called African. Uh, Basically, part of your troubles, I believe, is because of a foreign entity on our land, not us. So you going with their narrative of who we are is a huge mistake. And that's just if Africa is genuinely interested, and again, the people of Africa, the men and women, I should say, I think they would be okay with us being Americans. I think it's the leaders that need us to be African, but it's not going to work for you because Again, as Africans, we are foreigners, and the beast that you're dealing with and trying to be in bed with, that is the beast that's causing your problems. Part if in as much as American Indians are not American, and you have any issues with the United States, but see, that's where all the conflicts come. There's a duality involved. Okay, so let's read this. Duality meaning that the thing that's trying to act like it's helping you is actually the thing that's not helping you. Okay, you just have to say it that way. Okay, stressing it. Okay, so and voice concern over rising disregard for international humanitarian law. Yeah, because that's another jurisdiction. And what is international? The United Nations? Okay. Where'd that come from? The United States? Okay. Okay, so here's where we want to be. And I don't think we're going to go, we're not going to go much further than this because this is what the first thing that we read. There's a focus on conflicts. Much of the Communique focus, now that was the group that met this month earlier and focused on the African crisis, notably the devastating war in Sudan, now in its third year. The three organizations call for intensified collective support to secure an immediate cessation of hostilities and a sustainable solution through inclusive political dialogue. That's where you're going to get a daddy, a foreign daddy. But we want to deal with that. I did look into what is the Sahel because they also pledged stronger coordination in the Sahel, where violence by armed groups continues to destabilize communities and reaffirm support for reconciliation and development efforts. And Libya, the UN roadmap to revive the stalled political process while urging continued efforts to address migration challenges in line with humanitarian standards. Uh, there's a little more, but again, all right. Okay. The first thing on their list was the Sudan. So we might conclude that that is the bigger of all the issues in Africa, right? And why the AU, partly why they are one of the issues that they're trying to fix. What is the conflict you're not telling me? So we had to do a little bit more. And let me tell you, the answer was not coming easy, y'all. They don't want to admit. This is what brought me to the video today. They don't want to admit that it's a religion-based issue. I had to finally ask AI the right question because she was lying. It's not that, let's say this the right way. Okay. It's not so much that it's an outright lie, but what it is AI seems to know how to steer you away when it needs to. Like I was asking AI, is it Islam that's doing this? And she said, no, it's not Islam. But then I caught the bitch. This is how I caught the lie, y'all. I'm going to jump to that, okay? Because here was one of the questions. the Sudanese Armed Forces Islamic? AI said the Sudanese Armed Forces (SAF) are not officially an Islamic force. Okay, so she's trying. AI right now is trying to say no, it's not Islamic. It's not officially Islamic. But they have a complex and shifting relationship with the Islamists who have sought to influence and use them for their own political gain. So they're using Islam. Oh, Islam can be used? Really? As far as I know, they was always dominating shit in Spain and stuff. But anyway, this dynamic has become a major factor in the current civil war, and then they call it civil war. That's what Horace Butler called the war between South America and North America. He said it was a civil war. Even then, I knew it was a religious war, but I just got some validation here because they're calling this a civil war as well. It's not a civil war, y'all. Civil implies basically that you're only dealing sort of in a legal thing, but there's religion involved, y'all. It's a so there's two uh armed forces in the Sudan, y'all. So I asked this AI, is it Islamic? And she tried to say no. The Sudanese armed forces are not officially an Islamic force, but they have a complex and shifting relationship with Islamists who have sought to influence and use them for their own political gain. This dynamic has become a major factor in the current civil war in Sudan. Now, if we recall, this was the people that the Pope was kissing their feet, y'all. That's how big this conflict is, somehow. That the narrative that we're given is that he was kissing the feet for peace in the Sudan. Okay. Now that gets a little tricky because the thing with most people, including myself, that we've never seen that done before. So it made it seem like there's something else going on with him kissing. He's bowing down. You don't bow down. Not. Why would you have to kiss their feet though? It they still haven't explained that one, y'all. But it is based on this conflict. Him doing that something to do with this Sudanese issue. It's a big issue. So he kissed their feet a while back, and they still fighting, y'all. Um, I don't know. I'm not gonna try to speculate a whole lot, but when I thought about it, and I thought to myself, does it have something to do with him being a Jesuit? Maybe that's what it was, because no other pope has done this, and I think there's never haven't been a Jesuit pope in a while. Let's see, was Pope? Let's ask AI. Okay, was Pope Francis was Pope Francis a Jesuit? A Jesuit? Yes. Pope Francis was a Jesuit priest, making him the first Jesuit pope baby in the history of the Catholic Church. Okay, so there you have it, y'all. That's what makes him different. No, no other priest have done that, but a Jesuit priest. He's the first Jesuit pope in the history of the Catholic, that I didn't know. I'm shocked right now, y'all. I didn't know he was the only one. He entered the Society of Jesus, the formal name for the Jesuit order, in 1958, was ordained a priest in 1969, and later served as the provincial of the Jesuits in Argentina. Before his election as Pope in 2013, his papacy was marked by many values associated with the Jesuit tradition, such as education, empathy, discernment, and a focus on the poor and marginalized. Key facts about Pope Francis and the Jesuits. I'm sorry, guys, I'm reading from my phone, but it is AI. I just don't want to add too many more tabs of what I have lined up because I had this is what I had sort of. But we might not have to. I don't know. So, key facts about Pope Francis and the Jesuits. First, he's the first Jesuit Pope. Pope Francis was the first Jesuit elected to lead the Catholic Church. Next point, Society of Jesus. He was a member of the Society of Jesus, founded by Saint Ignatius of Loyola. Ignatian spirituality. His papacy was characterized by values of empathy, discernment, and a focus on education and service, reflecting the Jesuit spiritual tradition known as Ignatian spirituality, focus on the marginalized. He consistently emphasized the church's mission to serve the poor and marginalized, a commitment deeply rooted in his Jesuit background. Well, I will say this. He repudiated that doctrine of discovery. I will give him that. That is the beginning of American Indians who want to, because I'm learning that again, so many American Indians do believe that this is their system of government. Well, you will continue to be dominated by your system of government that was originally for white people. Oh, I didn't know you were white American Indians, but I do know that this government was built for white people, evidenced by the first citizens were white. And then when you enter in American Indians, you come in with Dred Scott, who's a slave. So American Indians who are claiming this government as the one they built or somehow connected to them somehow, what you're saying is you were a slave that created this government. And that's what the Moor has made you. That's what the Moor has made you. And you're claiming that identity every time you take responsibility for this foreign government that was built for white citizens. Why? Because they're in their own constitution, for Christ's sake. If you into Christ so much, which I don't think you should be, in the Constitution it says that you're not enumerated by this federal system. They live on enumerating their citizens, American Indians. You weren't supposed to be enumerated. You weren't represented in Congress. So you build a government where you don't have any representation? Are you sure you built this government, American Indian? Do you think it's yours? Because at its inception, it was for white people. Evidenced by Dred Scott not being able to become a state citizen. He had to become a federal citizen. Are you sure you built this government, American Indian? Because you know what? Why am I talking to the Moors again? That's who built this system. And the Indians who are masquerading as Indians are actually Moors, especially when they fight and windmill and bat for this system as their own. A system, yeah, like a Moor would make a system for foreigners, not an American Indian. An American Indian, a real one, would be saying, no, go back home and do that. This is my land. Like Chief Powhatan surely must have believed. Because when they came to Chief Powhatan, he was like, oh, yeah, you could pay me tribute. You could have that land over there. That's free. That's what you could have. But what we learned about this government is that they don't like being told what land they can have. In fact, they'll have all of it. Thank you, please. So, American Indians, you got to stop listening to Moors. Okay, I beat my drum, like I said, on this. You got to get your head right. Figure out where this government came from, and then we can talk some real business. Because what we're engaged in right now, in case you haven't noticed, it's not business, it's conquest. You didn't sign any treaty because you didn't have to. Those treaties weren't signed, by the way. Uh, that's what someone who did a deep dive uh, come up with. They like, you know, in other words, they weren't signed. We don't know who. If I recall correctly, I think there was like an X put on some of these. But the bottom line is none of the treaties are legitimate. They were forged under duress. You can't have a contract when duress is involved. What was the duress? We were being overtaken due to the doctrine of discovery. So we were in a position where we had no choice. An agreement, you have a choice. You can say, I don't want this. I'm not going to sign it. I don't want it. I'm trying to let those real Indians, the Algonquin ones, the uncivilized Indians, I'm trying to let them know don't listen to these civilized Indians. They're going to lead you back to slavery. And this time it will be the definitive uh, way you will be treated for at least the next, I don't know how many thousands of years, but I know the Moors say they work in 2,600 year increments. That's a long time, y'all. That's a long time. And the book of Yaqub, Father Mankind, I recall the number is every 2,600 years or 600 or 6,000. I don't know. It's a lot of years, y'all. That's 2,000. Ain't nobody's gonna live that long. So that means you're gonna stay in a state of slavery if you don't get cracking. Now, don't get it twisted. Now, some of you Indians are cackling, thinking, "Ha ha, so you gotta be a slave too." No, I'm not. This is exclusively whoever chooses to do that. You're going to be a slave. So don't get cute and think, well, I guess that's gonna happen to you too, because you just like what it was. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I am actively learning what this government was really founded as. And that's what a lot of you Indians can't even do. I'm not trying to put anyone down if listening to this, but I've had Indians who have been tutored to think that we can't think past the 1700s. In other words, you have to start your history in the 1700s. Well, that would be genocide as well, because American Indians history is well beyond the 1700s. In fact, one of the first treaties was the Powhatan treaties, and that was in 1500s. So, but there's a YouTuber that's promoting the notion that American Indians shouldn't deal with anything uh, uh, before the 1700s. That's crazy. But this is what some delusional fucking Moors are teaching. And they're acting like they're not Moors. So that's the other thing. Now Moors are saying that they're not Moors, but they're pushing the religion of Moors. So you do the math. If you're not a Moor, but you're pushing Moorish doctrine, uh, what's up with that? Are you so delusional that you don't realize you're still pushing Moorish narrative, even though you yourself are saying you're not a Moor? but you're pushing Judeo-Islamic or Christian narrative on American Indians who were none of those. You're causing chaos. You don't have a full understanding of what you are or what you're doing. You can't base your truth on a book that American Indians did not produce. Any holy book that American Indians did not produce. Even the rewritten ones. Now they're gonna say, well, it was based on stuff we did right. Well, it's not what we wrote. It, yeah, a lot of Indians are saying this government is based on the government that we had. And I'm saying I don't even believe that to be the case anymore. Come on now. Iroquois couldn't even write. They could talk Iroquois, but they couldn't write. They got writing from the Cherokee, is what we read. And I always say that, and I always will. They were not really fit to be in any agreement situation. I think they were just being run by Moors. That's what I really think. That's what I really think. And then the Moors were smart enough to know that they have to say that it was the Iroquois and not them. So they have to make it like an Indian or something or derivative of an Indian is the one who agreed to all this. But when you're being highly influenced by a Moor, did you really agree to it? Or were you just tutored by a Moor who has to give you the credit? So when shit hits the fan and shit ain't working, the Moor can say, well, the Iroquois did that, not me. I just did what the Iroquois told me to do. No, 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 no. The Iroquois did what you told them to do, if anything. If they're real Indians. And I'm saying they were real in terms of before they were Iroquois, they were Algonquin. Algonquin is the oldest language, and as we always say, the word Iroquois is an Algonquin word. So, oops, are the Iroquois really the Iroquois? Or are they brainwashed Algonquins, like all the other ones in the civilized tribes? So anyway, we went off a little bit. So yeah, what I learned was that the the war that's going on is two different armed forces. One is called the Sudanese Armed Forces. The other is called, and we're going to jump, okay? We're going to jump. We're going to jump. The other is called the Rapid Support Forces. So you got the Sudanese Armed Forces or the SAF, and you got the RSF. So this is where it gets interesting. Remember, we read that they're not really Islamic. Okay, so that you're saying that about the Sudanese armed forces, but the Rapid Support Forces, guess what they're about? You're reading it right now. Are not an Islamic organization, right? Now they said that about this one too. They're not officially Islamic, meaning they are Islamic, is what I'm trying to show you. AI is, she's been trained to say things a certain way. Now, these not only are these not Islamic, but and in the current civil war, now they're going to try to make it that's only the current one, they actively define themselves in opposition to Islamic forces. So what I'm getting, and I hope you can see why, one is kind of sort of Islamic, not officially, but they have a complex, smoke and mirrors, y'all. That's smoke and mirrors. They didn't say yes or no. I asked a direct question: are the Sudanese armed forces Islamic? There is no yes. There is no no. It's a maybe, y'all. Now this one, there was also no official, no explicit uh yes or no. But they did say that this organization actively define themselves. What does that tell me? They are not at all Islamic. What does that tell me? The major war in the Sudan is about a Sudanese government, which is obviously Islamic, right? Because they even using the word Sudan. Look, 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 look. Sudanese armed forces are not officially Islamic, but they use it. Oh, come on. Give me. Stop it. They are Islamic, okay? Because when they're up against these dudes are letting it be very clear that they're not, okay? And they're in opposition. The group's ideology is primarily focused on achieving power and wealth, though it has roots in Arab militias from Western Sudan. So they're still sort of trying to not tell us the deal, right? But the key here is in the current civil war. Who are they warring against? Who are they up against? These forces. These okay. Okay. All right. All right. All right. So key points regarding the RSS relationship with Islam with Islamism. I never they could have just said Islam, right? Political framing. The RSF has framed its war against the Sudanese armed forces, the SAF that we just read about, as a struggle against Islamists. So why are we all willy-nilly over here about what these are, yo? Why is AI kind of willy-nilly about the fact that these are Islamists? They're not exactly Islamists, not officially, but they are fighting on the behalf of Islam. So there's an algorithm put in place to protect Islam from being called out for causing a major conflict that had the Pope coming to kiss the feet of one of these two, okay? And the one he kissed was the ones that are not Islamic, apparently. But we have to remember that Islam is born of the Catholic Church. So there's a lot of conflict going on here, y'all. But see, that's willy-nilly, but here's where you get the real deal. They're trying to say that it's just the RSF. In other words, in their opinion, political framing. The RSF, the Rapid Support Forces, has framed its war against the Sudanese armed forces. So in other words, the Sudanese they don't know why they're fighting, but the RSF says, so they're trying to protect the interests of these Sudanese armed forces that are fighting on the behalf of Islam. The RSF has framed its war, so it's just their war, right? It's not the Sudanese at war with them, it's them, their war, has framed its war. They didn't say the war. No, I'm sorry. It's war. Okay, so they're acting like the RSF is in an aggressive position, but I'm tending to see this as an offensive. The RSF is fighting against an established political system, y'all. That's why they're not using the term Sudanese. They're not Sudanese. They are the men and women of the Sudan who don't want the Sudanese armed forces there or Islam there, forces of Islam. Because what? The RSF has framed its war against the Sudanese armed forces, the SAF, as a struggle against Islamists who previously held influence in the former regime of Omar al-Bashir. Historical origins of the RSF. The RSF originated from the Janjaweed militias, which were used by the Islamists. Oh boy, here we get it's getting crazy here. They originated, okay, wait. By the Islam, so they broke away from Islam, right, to suppress rebels in Darfur. While the group was formed by an Islamist government, its its core identity was never primarily religious. Oh Lord. So they were like mercenary. I think that's what we're reading here. Something that Islam paid for, but these folks wasn't really Islamic. I think that's what, this was going on. Why else would they fight for them? Unless they're getting paid. I mean, somebody, have more information, let us know. While the group was formed by an Islamist, so that doesn't, that still doesn't make Islam look any better, y'all. You see what I'm saying? So they formed this group. Now this group is saying, wait a minute, you doing too much. You doing now you want us to be Islamic too. We that's not what we was though. But it was formed so oh God. Not looking good, Islam. Not looking good. If the homeland of Islam is not at peace, this is the homeland of Islam, y'all. The Moors love, again, North Africa, right? This is their homeland. If Indians don't get their head out their asses and understand that a Moor is wholly African by choice, that's the killer diller right there, y'all. Ain't nobody made them African but themselves, y'all. You hear me? Indians who have ears. That's why we're gonna hold them to that. You don't get to flip flop, my nigga. You don't get to flip flop because that shows us that you're acting deceptively. You're trying to take something that's not yours. You're trying to be somebody you're not. You don't even want to be African. You want to be North African and Negropean. Why? Why more? Why do you come to my continent and insist that I'm you when you don't even want to be you? You have a serious identity crisis, Negro. Do not come here with your confusion. You go home. Fix it over there. They need your help right now. But then again, you wouldn't help these folks, right? You'd be on the side of the SAF, the Sudanese. Yeah, that's whose side you'd be on. I'm starting to believe that the Moors created the Sudan, y'all. I believe they created a lot of those countries over there. I don't know what the people of that landmass want to call it. Um, that's why they can call themselves the Sudanese Armed Forces, and they're Islamic, so they represent Sudan. And then there's a thing now with the South Sudan and the North Sudan. So that's another way that trying to camouflage how deep the division is by just calling it South Sudan and North Sudan. And it sounds like ain't nothing wrong. There's a North part and a South part, but they cool. No, they not. Same thing here. Same thing here. North Carolina, South Carolina. It was a difference somehow. If I remember correctly. Uh we gotta look up that one, y'all. I'm not sure. But I do think the West Virginia and East Virginia was because really Virginia, it started out Algonquin. But when the Cherokee broke off out of Algonquin, they became Iroquois. The Cherokee were used to be in Algonquin. We had a map that showed that the Cherokees were in Algonquin land. So the Cherokee are a break off of Algonquins, and they're probably the most popular break off, and they're probably the leader of the Iroquois Confederacy. I say that because again, we read that the Cherokee is what provided writing for the Iroquois. The Iroquois was using wampum belts writing though. But I think they had to use it because they couldn't use Algonquin anymore because they were trying to be a new thing now with the Moors have arrived. Moors come and division happens. If we go by this Africa thing, they trying to, okay, so let's finish reading. The historical origins, uh, the RSF originated from the Janjaweed militia, which were used by the Islamist al-Bashir regime to suppress rebels in Darfur. So they were people that were not down with Islam, these rebels in Darfur. Islam comes with a fist, y'all. But so did Christianity when it first came to the Americas, but everybody forget that. And Indians can't afford to forget it, but they're the ones who are most forgetful about where their Christianity came from, how it arrived. They don't even care about that no more. They so in love with this character, this dying character. If you're going to love someone as a hero, try to make sure he's living, okay? Try to make sure that he survives. I'm serious. I'm as serious as I can possibly be right now. When you worship death, you are calling death, okay? That's just for Indians who are ready for it. If you ain't ready, just pass on this video. You should at this point you shouldn't even be listening if you ain't up on game. But what's going on over here? So I say this for Indians who are spiritual adults. If you're going to worship something or praise something, make sure it's a victorious thing. It just does you a lot better, just overall spiritually. And we're not even talking political right now. We're talking spiritually. Life begets life. Death may happen. That don't mean you have to worship it. That don't mean you have to call it. It doesn't need calling, right? So why worship it? If you would like to live in the vibration of life, I think you have to start to honor living things. I think your heroes need to be alive. Heru, if you wonder why I use that deity, it's because he was the Christ figure that conquered and lived to take his birthright back. Okay? So know your deity and know what you're calling on when you make your life all about that. Just know what you're doing because I'm here to tell you death cults are real. And how do you get to death? You shed blood. So blood thirst is part of the death cult and the sacrifice system. Thing that dies is going to be replaced by the thing that sacrificed it. And then it's going to somehow be like that thing paid for your sins. So it's almost like, oh God, I hate to say it, but the next logical thing is it could be then said that murder is a worthy thing because I just made a sacrifice to a deity. And, now I'm going to basically well, that's a sacrifice. So I'm good. So in a death cult, murder is a necessary, shall we say, necessary evil. Don't want a sacrifice system, y'all. I promise you. I promise you. If you really do, if you allow your spirit to really show you what is going on here, It's a lot, y'all. You got your vampirism with the drink. We say it all the time. I'm just reiterating for people who might be just hearing this video for the first time. This is what we're about. If you can't take it, go to another kitchen, whatever. This is what we serving. It's hot. It's hot. Don't sue me because it's hot. Yeah. And I know the Christian, yeah, how cause you in hell? No, 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 baby. That's for you. I don't subscribe to that. I don't subscribe to that. I began to unsubscribe to hell when I realized that it wasn't how do I say, it wasn't a deciding factor in Judaism. That's when I realized that Christians are on some other stuff. Because I now there will be some Jewish folks, because there's different types of Jewish folks, but I know that my personal friend who was a Jew, he had a hard time explaining hell to me because he really he says we don't really do hell. You know, he's what he told me, and I'm going to tell you, I'm going to paraphrase, but this is exactly what he told me. He said, if anything, what he understood of what he learned in the Judaism, and he was trying to be like an Orthodox. He didn't want the kind of reform Judaism. He wasn't into that. This is my Jewish friend, and this is not against Jewish people. I understand that you have different forms of Judaism, and you're entitled to that. All I'm saying to my Jewish brethren is that please respect that I'm not a Jew, and I don't have to be. That's all I'm saying. If we can live peacefully on that, look, I'm not coming for you by saying that. All I'm saying is I have to honor my ancestors like you honor yours. That's all I'm saying. And you know what? I really actually mean that. I I get why they would need to honor what they know to be their ancestors. I think the problem comes when we have men and women who subscribe to a religion and then find out later that the priesthood of that religion intended for you to go on some kind of warpath against people who don't believe what you believe. I think it's our the hierarchy in the churches that are continuing in what they always intended, and the men and women of the religions are just caught off guard because they didn't come for this. That's not what they joined. That's not what their practice. Excuse me. In other words, they're just trying to live in the graces of their ancestral deities. They're trying to find grace with their deities, which all people should do. But if we have different ancestors, that means I have to go for I have to look up my ancestors and I have to begin to appreciate what they've done for me. And many American Indians it'll be like hell for them because they're going to not understand why when they take on foreign deities why they are in hell because it's your ancestors that are being disrespected. They cannot embrace you when you're not looking to embrace them. And in fact, you're embracing the exact entities that came in aggression and conquest of them. See, American Indians, they really don't. I don't know that a lot of us are ready for this assignment, y'all. But I'm finding so much comfort in knowing that that's okay. We don't need you to go forward. We don't need you. This is actually an individual thing, y'all. And the funny thing is, as I said before, the Constitution set us up that way. That's what this government did to us. They set us up to act on an individual level because they grabbed what they call Indian tribes in commerce. They have them under subjugation with a plenary authority that the Constitution never gave them, but the doctrine of discovery did. And they're going to go with it, y'all, until you tell them that the doctrine of discovery has been repudiated. And then they're going to still make up some crap. And it's going to sound very official. Let me tell you, it's going to sound like that's God's law, but it's not. It will sound like that. That's why you don't get involved in their codes and statutes. That's why you don't call on their codes and statutes. You think that you know their codes and statutes, and then they whip out something you ain't never seen before because you're not a lawyer. You're not working for the crown. You actually did not create this legal system, although the Moors told you you did, because they need you to say that you did. So this thing can somewhat be legitimate somehow, some crazy how. So when you try to beat them at their game, you forget that you're on their checkerboard. And they will whip out something on you you ain't never seen before. And it's going to sound legitimate. And they're going to argue their point and they're going to prove their point. Why? Because it's you on their playground. What Indians don't understand is you got to get off their playground. How do you do that? How do you get off their their game board playground? You tell them. You don't have jurisdiction because I don't have representation in Congress. I have my own playboard. And I don't go by your laws, so you can't pull them out of a hat like you often do. And they will pull, I'm telling you, y'all, that's how this system has stayed in power for so long. They come at you from ways that you've never dreamed because they have everything already they need to swat you down. If it's not on the records, on the books, it's somewhere like they can find it, y'all. I don't. Yes, I know it's hard to explain, right? Yeah, because it's unfounded what they're doing, but they can do it because this is their system. So when I hear that one of our Indians has been jailed, my first thought is they must have been trying to play the game of colonizing. I mean, I'm not saying that they were wrong. I'm just saying maybe they didn't trust that they don't have to go by color. If you don't have representation in Congress, do you understand what that means? No laws were ever made in your favor because Congress does the bidding of those it represents, or that's what they were supposed to do. We know that they're not doing that now, unless they under Anna von Reitz's tutelage. Ooh, she's trying to get white people to become state citizens again. Now she's not denying black people. It's just that black people are actually American Indians, and we already have a political standing. But she does not discriminate, and that I want to say that on the surface it seems like a great thing that she doesn't discriminate. And this is not against Anna. Again, if Anna should ever hear this right now, my message to Anna is thank you, because I learned so much from you. So I don't wish you ill. I've learned too much from you. But if you were going by the Constitution, and I say this, and at the same time, I can't fully be on board with it. Why? Only because if I didn't learn from Anna, I would not have been able. If I didn't, oh well, wait, I could have. I'm sorry, I could have. I just didn't know at the time. But I was so eager to learn that, and first of all, to get out of being a United States citizen. That was my goal. That's all I knew at the time. But over time, the ancestors, they started to bring me into the knowledge of what Article 1, Section 2, Clause 3 means. So what I'm saying is, if Anna went strictly constitutional, she wouldn't allow Black people to join the state nationals because state citizenship was originally only for white people. So, and she wouldn't be wrong if she did that. But thankfully, in a way, because in other words, I wouldn't have been able to really learn as much if I didn't get involved as much as I did and go with what I know to be wrong, to be right, more right than wrong. In other words, what Anna's doing is actually, I want to say, oh God, I can't, I want to say it the right way. It's sort of in the spirit of what this country was supposed to be about, sort of freedom. It was supposed to be, but it wouldn't help American Indians because it would lessen our position to become a state citizen, which is what white citizens were originally. They were originally citizens of their state, not of the federal District of Columbia. The District of Columbia was supposed to be serving them. But once the District of Columbia amassed so many American Indians and they were collecting taxes from us, which means that I believe the federal government became more powerful than the states. And that's why they began to dominate because they had so many Negroes that became automatically United States citizens, citizens of the District of Columbia. The United States is the District of Columbia. It's not a state. The states had more power than the District of Columbia originally. But then the District of Columbia had so much they were spending like crazy because they were charging it to American Indians. Now the state nationals, they only paid for 19 enumerated functions. I'm sorry, we have to be a little repetitive, y'all, but it's very helpful. It's very helpful. Okay, so we did go off topic a little bit, but yeah, we just wanted to say originally there's no way that American Indians would create a system for white only citizens. And I am telling you, that's what this system was for white, it had only white citizens. You couldn't be a citizen, y'all. But the Moors knew how to maneuver this to make us, what we are today, black. Yeah. They put us at the bottom. They built a caste system where their white offspring could dominate us. And I believe that's what Africa is kind of fighting. I mean, it's odd because, again, Africa only has black leaders, right? There's not from what we know, there's no white people running Africa. So what Africa has, again, that's also different from America, is that these are black Islamics that's running you. You're fighting against here in the Sudan. But now we had to squeeze it out of AI because she's trying to deny that this is an Islamic against basically Christian. Because unfortunately, the Sudan is South Sudan. I believe I read it's Christian, but the original Sudan obviously was Islamic. I think the full Sudan as a country was Islamic, but then the breakoff became South Sudan, if I'm reading this correctly. So let's read this again. The RSF, that's the Rapid Support Forces. I believe these are what they call civilians who have gathered together to fight against Islamic forces in their country. So let's read this again. The RSF has framed its war against the Sudanese armed forces as a struggle against Islamists who previously held influence in the former regime of Omar al-Bashir. Okay. The RSF originated from the Janjaweed militias, which were used by the Islamic. Now, in the other reading, they're trying to say people were using Islam, but here they're saying the Islamists used them. You see how the fancy footwork here? But they have been complex and shifting relationship with Islamists who have been sought to influence and use them. What? Wait, am I now? It sounds different. I'm sorry. Did I get that wrong? The SAF are not officially an Islamist force, but they have a complex and shifting relationship with Islamists who have thought, oh, the Islamists are using them. Ah, okay, I got it now. So the Islamists are using the Sudanese armed forces. Okay. For their own political gain, for the Islamic political gain. Okay, okay, we got it wrong. So Islam is using both of them. Okay. Islam is using SAF and RSF. Because what we read here, I'm sorry, they originated as a militia which were used by the Islamists. So the Islamists are using uh these sects of people. I'm sorry. Groups of militias somehow against each other, but they both originated with Islam. So I'm trying to paint a picture here for us to understand what the Moor is about in his homeland. Okay, because again, we're going to insist Africa truly is their choice homeland. That's their homeland. That's the one that they claim, y'all. No matter what history uh, will show us, what we have to say is Moors chose Africa as their home base and the Middle East, evidenced by where Mecca originally and always was. You can't tell me that the Moors originated in America, but they have their biggest religious edifice in the Middle East. You belong in the Middle East more. You do not belong in America. You married into our family, but what you did was you took over our family, parts of our family. And then the ones of us who did not go with your bullshit, we got called black first. And we got basically we were the first to be pushed out. Yeah, before the Trail of Tears, when the trail was the Trail of Death, y'all. That's where the Algonquins were being shifted and moved around, okay? So, what am I saying? When Moors come to your town, watch out. You're going to have some kind of caste system, number one. Number two, they're going to insist that they're you and you were always them, and somehow their fight is your fight. So you should be with them because you are me. But you see, in Africa, their homeland, these people don't want them. And the Sudan is in South Africa, right? The Moors originate in South Africa, y'all, evidenced by their out of Africa. In other words, again, we're throwing back all the narratives that Moors put out, we're giving it back to them. So what happens as a result of that is that they're no longer North African because life did not begin in North Africa. The life began, according to the out of Africa theory, in South Africa. So where did Moors come from? Again, we're going to keep saying it. They originated in South Africa, but then they keep getting fancier and fancier until they reach America, and now they want to be American. So they leave South Africa in the out of Africa theory that they promote, although they also try to confuse us with Pangea. That's a way that they can avoid, you know, but the funny thing. Okay, wait. Even with Pangea, they're still denying South Africa, y'all. Hello. Even with Pangea, they are denying South Africa. Sit with it, y'all. Wait for it. Wait for it. It's gonna hit you. It's gonna hit you. Heru be, yeah, come on, y'all. Y'all gotta give me well, don't okay. How about give it to the ancestors? Okay? Let's be real around here. Give it to the ancestors, yo. Give a hand to the ancestors. Can we come on, give it up for the ancestors. They be breaking it out. They be breaking out sometimes. They just let us know that even with Pangea, these MFers ain't trying to claim South Africa. And that part didn't even break away. That's the part that didn't even break away. They want to reach across the ocean, right? For their Pangea. They insist they need America, baby. They need you, American Indian. And if you, the more you give into them, the more you disappear, and you shall be erased from the annals of history. You will be you they will overtake your whole entire history and rework it and say that they were the first. And you're gonna find American India. You're gonna be made. They already did it because they kind of doing it yeah, they're doing it with the Native Americans because Native Americans are going to be said to be after the Moors. But while we are here, they're going to insist the Native Americans were first. Once they get rid of us, they're going to say, "Oh yeah, well, we was here before the Native Americans." Once they get our identity, then we can be first again. But until that day, they have to rely on Native Americans to be the placeholder. Yeah, yeah. They're very crafty, y'all. You don't want to be involved with this, y'all. You don't want to be involved with this because you don't have to be a thief. They do. You already given your birthright and all the wealth that comes along with that. You already got it. The ones that don't have, that's the ones that got to get jiggy and lie. Okay, they want America so bad that they will claim Pangea to take America, but Pangea didn't even break off South Africa, and they don't claim South Africa. They don't want to look. Listen, the Moors don't want to have nothing to do with South Africa, but they're fools because again, you're out of Africa theory. Life didn't begin in North Africa, so you're already condemning your ancestors on your landmass, but you want to take away mine. You want to replace your ancestors with mine, but you're genociding your ancestors, and you call us cursed. You get us to genocide our ancestors, but you're doing the exact same thing. But you know how to get around that because you're busy sacrificing folks for your sins, right? Namely, the American Indians and all other people of color. You want a white world. Just admit it, Moors. You want a white world. But white people don't get too happy. It's not for what you think. Oh no, they do like to get jiggy with you in the bedroom. That's no, yeah. But we're not going to hold that against them. No, no, that's not the point. The point is they can pull complete and utter domination of white people. Why? Because they know that they're older than white people. They only want to deal with. They want your children, y'all. When it comes to American Indians, they'll take your children, and then with the white people, they are their children. The white people are the child of the Moors. So they were banished from taking our birthright. So they had to get their children to take it, and then they'll start hobnobbing with their children and get our birthright that way. But they themselves they were banished, y'all. They were banished. Um, yeah, that's why they talk about a turtle. That if you think about it, if you're on a turtle, you're in some form of some kind of exile. Why would you choose a turtle when God has given you land? Are you in exile of some sort? Why would you need a turtle? And then you want the turtle to grow. It can't, you want this turtle because you're hoping it gets bigger and bigger because you're small. See, that's another clues. The clues, y'all, the clues. It's all about the clues. You need to become bigger and bigger. Why? You're not big enough. You need a growing turtle. So that means you actually were not all over the planet, really. Now you're going to use our phenotype to say you were all over the place, but you still wasn't in South Africa, though. You was everywhere but South Africa. That you don't have nothing to do with that one. It's so interesting how Moors get to pick and choose what they want to be, but an American Indian, you say you're American Indian, and they go ballistic, insisting that you're a Moor. But they get to be whatever they want. They don't have to be South African, y'all, but you have to be African American. They didn't say you had to be North African American though. So I guess, like we said before, they probably going to stuff you in South Africa and say you were the original ape man. And as you get closer to Europe, you find that these North Africans, they are evolving into the white man. Why do I say all this? Because American Indians need to let Moors go completely. I'm not talking about half-ass. In a peaceful, civil, so-called manner. We don't mean them any harm. They meant us harm, though. So you got to let them go. I know they're appealing to your ego. I know. I know they talk about a history that you because you don't know anything about yours. I know. So you take this. I know. I know. That's done on purpose though, because they're the custodians of history. So they don't tell about you. They talk about themselves. They're genociding you where you stand. And you American Indians keep listening to them. Going into their course that was made for white people, because only white people were allowed to be citizens. And that we didn't want to be citizens, y'all. That's how we kept our sovereignty. To be a citizen, you are saying you're a foreigner. You're saying you had a foreign king over you. You're saying you're white. We were not white. Citizenship was for white people, evidenced by Dred Scott. Now, here's another question. People gonna ask maybe, well, if we weren't citizens, what were the Moors when they were here? Because they were black, right? I'll tell you this. Whatever we were, Dred Scott didn't want to be that. If Dred Scott is an example of an American Indian, he did not want to be whatever the Moors had created for him. You got to, again, American Indian, you got to just catch it, wait for it, and catch it. If it was all good for people who look like American Indians, why did Dred Scott crave to be a citizen? Something went bad for American Indians under Moorish watch. Why do you say Moorish watch? Well, because they brought this system here for white people. With us, I think we have to think of what happened during the Sundry Act. I hope. So during the Sundry Act, if you didn't identify as a Moor, you were treated like a Negro. So what did the Moors bring to the Americas, and especially North America? They brought a system that uplifted foreign, quote unquote, white people, gave them the highest possible foreign standing they could have, but it did something to those that they would call colored. American Indians were seen as colored, right? On the Moors' watch. And then what I'm trying to get at is if you were not some kind of ranked Negropean nobility, then you were like Dred Scott and you wanted out from under the Moors in the South. What am I saying, y'all? Did the Moors make American Indians their slaves? Indentures, but with the intention of making us permanent slaves? Because it's becoming more and more evident that slavery in the South was black on black, quote unquote, what they would call it, black on black, right? So American Indians were trying to escape that shit. Dred Scott is evidence that American Indians or people who look like us, because he didn't even have to be Indian, y'all. He could have been somebody that the Moors used as a poster boy of what they wanted to happen to all people that look like Dred Scott. You see what I'm saying? He wanted out and he didn't get out. What did Dred Scott get? Dred Scott was not allowed to be a citizen like a white person's citizen was. Dred, again, we're going to keep saying it till it makes sense. Dred Scott, they had to create a new citizenship for him called the United States citizen, which is a federal citizen, not a state citizen like white people, which is a citizen of the District of Columbia, which is who's responsible for paying the federal government's skyrocketing debt that they purposely jack up to make sure that those babies of slaves type of citizens never get control because they're always in perpetual debt. And with that debt comes, you lose everything. If you can't pay, they get to quote unquote foreclose. What does that mean? Everything you have belongs to them. Everything an American Indian has belongs to the feds because the feds jacked up a debt that you didn't ask for, but they put it on. Why? Because we are under conquest. You Indians think we're doing business? Y'all thought this was business. Well, no wonder you're not so successful in business until you completely sell out. This is not business, American Indian. This is not business. You got it wrong. Real wrong. This is conquest, American Indians. I know you think it's business. It's the only business you've ever known. Was conquest. That's why you think it's business. Other people, like white people, they have a little bit of a better idea of what business really is. Hence, Anna von Reitz. She knows what real business is, okay? American Indians think conquest is business. American Indians think being completely dominated is business. Oh, yeah, business as usual. Doctrine of discovery, business as usual. So, American Indians don't know no better. They got the Moors whispering it all in their ear, saying, yeah, this is what business looks like. This is what it do. Yeah. You lose everything. Yeah. On colonizer monopoly dollars with our seal on it. The Moors said that was their seal. That and why did they choose a dollar? Why? Tell me you didn't do it, Moors. You using fiat money as your a symbol of your agreement. The pyramids, they said, that stands for the Moors. And the eagle on the dollar bill, there's an eagle, and on the other side, there's some pictures of some pyramids, y'all. And the Moors said that that pyramid represents them, not us, American Indian. So you're engaging with a money system that was made for Negropeans and their white offspring, evidenced by the seal. They said the eagle represents the white race, the Europeans. And then that eagle has a white head with a copper body in real life. And on that dollar bill, if it was in color. So it's all over the place, American Indians, that you have nothing to do Not even with the money that's printed. There's no sign of you on that dollar bill. They got the White House for white people. And then you're saying, oh, we had a white status. No, you didn't. You did not have no white status unless you were a Moor. We didn't do black white caste systems, American Indians. Do you not know that? Isn't it obvious that we did not have a caste system here, American Indians, until colonization? Life, any culture of people can accept other people, regardless of their race. Because as long as you're on their land, you're going to play by their rules. So you could be whatever color you want, whatever race you are, but you're not going to dominate us. You're going to go by our rules. That's what makes you one of us. That's how it's supposed to be, y'all. But the way Indians have been treated on their land, I think we need to go back to no. Nobody that comes here is going to be American. No, we can't afford it. We're too busy trying to establish who we are, and so we can't get it. We can't afford to get it confused. So even when you come here now, you're just gonna stay whatever you were. You might could be here, but you're not gonna be called American. Not Americans can't afford it. Our name, our identity has been spread so thin that it doesn't even apply to us anymore. So there's no way that we should be so willing to just let everybody be an American. You're gonna have to remember who you are, and when an Indian is in charge, we're gonna on your paperwork that we provide for you because you're coming to our country. You're gonna put what you are, and that's what you're going to be. Wherever you came from, that's what you got. You're still that. You're an Italian living in America. You're a French living in America. You know, we don't want you to. We don't. We see the thing is when you're a people that have been cut off from your ancestors through political genocide. We have to now become the teachers of keeping your ancestral ties. We know what happens when you lose them, and we don't want that for you. We don't want you to lose your ancestral ties because it tends to infringe on our identity when it comes to this thing called America. They even put it in their dictionary. America originally applied to the copper colored aboriginals found here, but now apply to Europeans born in America. So right there, our identity was taken by Europeans, namely Negropeans, though. It's the Negropeans that spearheaded it. We read the story. That's how we found out about the dollar bill. It was a black Moor who married into an Indian family, or as a result of an intermarriage. He's the one that told us that this government was built, and we read it in the last video, I believe, toward the end. This government was created by Moors for Caucasians and Moors. Indians don't have nothing to do with that, evidenced by we're not representing, there's no symbolism of us on the dollar bill. Now they're taking the symbolism of the pyramid, but see, if anything, the American Indians had mounds. So that pyramid on that dollar bill is not a mound. That's the difference between Moors. If that's their symbol, they had pyramids when we had mounds. So again, that pyramid is strictly for Moors. And if you look at that pyramid, it's very steep. It's not like one of these kind of flat, low-level pyramids. It's like a pointy pyramid. So those pyramids are younger than the mounds. Moors are younger than American Indians. They give it away on their dollar bill, y'all. If that brick-looking pyramid, as steep as it is on that dollar bill, I want to look at my dollar bill right now because I want to be sure. Now you can't see it, but I'm looking for you. Yeah, let me look. Let me see. Yeah, that's a very steep pyramid, y'all. It's not a flat pyramid. Like the one in Machu Picchu, that is a whole that is a very flat and wide pyramid. It's wider than it is height than its height. Not Machu. Is it Machu Picchu? That got the biggest pyramid? Ooh, I might be thinking of something else, y'all. Machu Picchu don't have a pyramid. I'm thinking of that other mound, that big. Is it that one at Machu Picchu? Oh man, now I got. I'm sorry, y'all. We're not gonna look for that right now, but the pyramid on the dollar for the Moors is a new pyramid, which that tells you there are new people. See, they giving it away, y'all, and they even say nouveau, right? Nouveau order. Oh wow, oh wow. So it's the Moors. Now I'm looking at the dollar bill, y'all, and that thing about new order, nouveau ordos seclorum, that's the New World Order. So who wants the New World Order? The Moors. Because we read that this mound, this pyramid represents, I'm sorry, I misspoke, this pyramid, not a mound, with the eye on over it, that's a nigga watching you, American Indian. He don't show you his whole face. He just want to peek with one eye, right? But that see, the pyramid is the thing that got the eye over it. So the Moor is sort of taking a role as God. And when you think about that eye, I want you to think about the high surveillance that we're under right now. I mean, crime should be at an all-time low, basically just due to the sheer plethora of surveillance everywhere. It's like crime don't even make sense in America right now. It really don't make sense. And you whine about gun control because you're trying to get rid of the Second Amendment. See, you got to watch out for stuff like that, American Indians. You got to understand that what you see on TV is propaganda to get you to do something. It's not reality. It's cherry picking events in life to get a reaction for Americans to say, "Oh, I don't want the Second Amendment no more." And by the way, you can take them all away. I just want you to dominate me completely. That's how they see that. When you start uh, acting like you want to, and this is not for American Indians because we're not part of this system. Uh, yeah, we're not supposed to be part of this system, so we just gonna get out eventually when Indians really get their head on right and find themselves. You gotta find yourself. But I'm just saying, you got a propaganda encouraging folks that this Second Amendment is ridiculous. Well, you don't know why it was put there though. You don't know why it was put there. You're being swayed by the new new world, which again we were going to say is that we learned that the eagle represents the Caucasians, right? And that's what the brother told us. In that article we read about the Washita Moors, right? Which is the five civilized tribes. So the seal of the pyramid is the Moors, and that's the seal that says Nouveau Order Seclorum, New World Order, and got the all-seeing eye, right? The other emblem on is this that they said this is the seal of of their government. How'd they put it? The dollar represents like a covenant of some sort, between Caucasians and Moors, how they're going to, dominate, and the Moors are going to use Caucasians as the face of the government. But it's really the Moor that created the government, right? Yes. So what you notice about you see the all-seeing eye on the side with the Moors, right? So they're playing God again. and they want the New World Order. That's for from the Moors, not Caucasians, because that's the pyramid is their symbol, and that's where you read Nouveau Order Seclorum. Now, the eagle, what I found interesting about the eagle is, well, for one thing, he has a peace flag on his chest, which is interesting because when you have the stripes of the flag in the vertical position, Anna has taught us that means America, I'm sorry, United States is at peace, right? So this eagle has a flag on his chest, but the lines are vertical, so he's at peace. But I don't think he's going to. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit fatigued at the moment. Need some coffee or to take a quick nap, so we might have to cut the video short. I do think we proved our point, though, guys, with what we saw here. But just to finish this thought, the eagle, what I found interesting about the eagle is that it's holding 13 arrows, right? The 13 arrows represent the 13 colonies. But the eagle, which is representing European, is who's holding it. So the dollar is telling you a little story. The Moors are on one side, a little bit apart from all of this. But the eagle, which they say represents Europeans, the white Europeans, it's the Europeans that are holding the colonies, right? So it's like the Moor is giving the eagle the power. The eagle represents the Caucasian to dominate the 13 colonies and whatever other states that are created that were really territories. Everything outside of the 13 colonies is technically a territory, although they're calling it a state. It's a territory because it's created by the federal government, basically. And those are, that's the District of Columbia is said to be owned by Britain. So the 13 colonies, they are the ones that had the original and actual states where white people could be citizens. And that was the highest authority they could get. But that's not an authority that American Indians gave them. That's what the Moors gave them. Okay. So yeah, just look at your dollar bill and then look at the seal, look at the eagle, look at how it says in God we trust, and then uh right to the left of that is the chicken with the head. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Y'all, when I get tired, I start talking out of my head, talking about chicken without a head or whatever chicken it is. Where did that come from? I'm sorry. What I was trying to say, because I'm getting drowsy and crap. Okay, so it says in God we trust. But then you look at the pyramid and the all-seeing eye is a more, because the again we keep saying the pyramid part of the seal, that's Moorish. So when it says in God we trust, that all-seeing eye is supposed to represent God. So it's the Moor taking the role of God. And then the other part of the seal is the eagle holding the 13 colonies in its grips. Okay. So the eagle represents white people and as colonists. Okay. So yeah, let's move on because I think I'm gonna have to stop the video. I don't know. It comes a time in the morning when I usually take a nap before I log in for work, and so now it's at that point where I should log off so I can get my little nap. So I didn't get through everything, but we seen enough. Let's read this just the rest of, oh, it's a lot, but let's just read through this because I think this is key because it's showing us that there's the biggest, one of the biggest conflicts in Africa that even caused the Pope to intervene to kiss the feet of these Sudanese leaders, but he did kiss the feet of. Actually, we did get a picture of the people that he kissed the feet of, but I believe these are the people that are siding on this side, the RSF side. I believe that's who those people were. Uh, the RSF originated. We read this already. Um, uh, it was formed by an Islamist government. So originally, the RSF was formed by Islamists. Its core identity was never primarily religious. It was instead a tribal militia repurposed for state-sponsored violence. Sound like they were paid, y'all. They were tribal, but the Islamic government repurposed them. How did they do that? They had to pay them, I believe. Detention of Islamists. In 2023, the RSF detained numerous Islamic leaders and activists who opposed their bid for power, demonstrating their political stance against the Islamist movement. I'm just trying to show you, as the Moors kiss your ass here, trying to get you to be them, this is what's going on their homeland. You see, people don't want them. But they get in America to just love up on them so they could steal your birthright. Leadership and ideology. The RSS leader, Mohammed Hamdad Daglo Hemeti, is a warlord with a history of political maneuvering. The RSF has been accused of atrocities against various ethnic and religious groups, including attacks on Christian churches. Yeah, well, that's why I say this is all religion, and it's gonna cause some problems, man. The RSF has been accused of atrocities against various ethnic and religious groups, including attacks on Christian churches. Strategic allegiance. The RSF's anti-Islamist messaging has been strategically used to secure support from wealthy Gulf states, such as the United Arab Emirates, which have an interest in opposing Islamist movements. Wow. While individual RSF members may be Muslim, as the empathy of Sudan is, there excuse me, let's start again. While individual RSF members may be Muslim, as the majority of Sudan is Muslim, now I read earlier that the majority of Sudan was not Muslim. So AI again is showing that it's got an algorithm to mislead what the Sudan is. I'm sure I read something that said that. Let me see. Oh, it did say it is. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was wrong. Yes, the Sudan is a Muslim majority population and historically was an Islamic state. But since 2020, it has transitioned to a secular state, separating religion and the state after the Sudan Revolution. Okay, so it was originally Islamic. That makes sense. Okay. So while individual RSF members may be Muslim, as the majority of Sudan is, the organization's political ideology and actions are not based on religious principles. The group has shown a willingness to persecute religious minorities and use violence in the pursuit of political and economic control. Okay, so I think we might leave it at that, but I want to show you a picture of uh, mm, basically the main guy who got his feet kissed. Now I can't find him. Okay, I don't know if I took his picture down. Let me see. Oh, interesting how I don't get a preview sometimes. But I found that that had something to do with too many tabs. But for now maybe I should close it. We kind of said what we needed to say, and I was going to show some pictures. This is the female that got her foot kissed by the Pope. And there's her name. So that's the female, and here's we're not gonna pull up all the pictures, but that's a rough idea of what she looked like. Um, one of the men that got his feet kissed by the Pope is this guy. We're not saying their name, but if you can see it there. Oh man. And okay. There is another, but I don't think I have his picture up. I thought I did. And I don't feel like looking it up right now. Uh, so maybe we'll okay. I had this picture up, but I think I closed the tab. So many windows open. All right. Um, there's the names. I'm sorry, I still didn't read them. These are the only ones that he kissed the feet of. He's a Jesuit priest. I think that might have something to do with it. Other than that, I believe I read that that part of the Sudan is Christian, the South Sudan. But again, the church is the mother of all the Abrahamic religions. Okay. But the guy, okay, so this is the main guy. So there's his name. Let's see if we could just quickly pull it up because I did have it pulled up. Again, these are the people who got their feet kissed by the Pope for peace. It seems to be based on religion, as we said before. Okay, so we're just going to look at images. South Sudan president, okay, not Islamic. Okay. On that note, I think I have to cut the video short. Trailing off. I've tried to stay. Thank you so much for watching. We're going to leave it here. Here's the article we were reading once again, just to get an idea of this big issue that the AU is having. It's the biggest issue, big enough that the Pope had to come and, for the first time ever, kiss the feet of these leaders for peace. But what we have essentially is people fighting against Islam. Okay, American Indian. So I'm trying to show you what your Moorish side of the family is doing on his home land. He is from here, but once he married it from there, Africa. I mean, here. I said here because we're looking at a picture of Africa. But once he comes here, he's going to say he's you so that he can run your affairs and slowly get rid of you on the down low. So look what he's doing at his homeland and understand that left to those devices, he'd probably be looking like, I'm sorry, I'm still talking out of turn. We want you to understand that left to their own devices, this was what a Moor is about. Gotta dominate people. That's what they did here in America on the down low. You don't know that it's them that built this government. But even when we have one of them telling us, we don't believe it. And we think that was us. No, it wasn't us. Those people in the South was not us, y'all. It's just that the South got a light infiltration before, I believe, we were already, before colonization really hit, we were already compromised by intermarrying with Negropeans. So by the time Britain comes to take over, we have members in our Southern families that are already doing the bidding of Britain as it awaits the birth of their United States for them and for Caucasian, is what we were told. But we don't want to believe that. We want to be part of the system, and it's to our detriment once again. So here's what's going on in Africa. The big fight is religious. The big fight in the Sudan is religious. They're fighting against Islamic, domination. This is always they don't. After all these years, it still comes down to this, y'all. They have to dominate. You cannot be and not be dominated by these folks. They got to take over your government. They got to control everything. That ensures that you remain poor, uh, and downtrodden as a people while you're being dominated by these very severe type of spiritual systems. You got people, talk about getting stuff chopped off, and I don't know if they still do that, but I know that was one of the discussions, losing limbs and stuff. So again, I think we're gonna leave it here, so I can get by that. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. The conversation continues because we didn't even cover a lot of the slides we had. I kind of thought I might get a little long-winded, so I do apologize. And I still thank you for your time and your thumbs up if you can, and sharing the video if you would. Till next time, be and stay sovereign American Indian.